Sandra, would you start introductions for the...
Sandra Jones, member.
Robert Kelly, member.
John Warren, Selectman Rep.
John Decker.
Michael Kelly?
Owen Friend Gray.
Brent Tweed.
Thomas Patkevich.
Jeffrey Morrison.
Ellen White, Town Administrator.
And Megan Sabasco, School Board Rep.
All right, let's see. Our next item is approval of the meeting minutes from 11:30 and 12:07. So
11:30 is the fun one.
11:30 is the one that we had video trouble with.
Anybody have answers to the questions?
I probably made all those motions, because usually I think I try to.
Yeah, I know that.
But who
right,
seconded
the
them?
second is
I can't for the
really-
life of me remember. I went and hoped I had my notes. I went back and checked, and I didn't happen to write it
I
down.
was thinking it was John for both of them, but then I was like, ugh, I'm quite certain Owen made the motion.
Pretty sure I
Well,
did.
it-
Usually
it
on the
could've-
meeting minutes I
it
do.
could've
You
been,
made
I
the
don't know.
adjournment motion for sure. And I have JM.
Just leave it with question marks, or do we need to fill it in?
Oh,
One,
Charlotte
some,
Fife.
Just right, someone made a motion, someone seconded it, it was
Seconded.
passed.
I have, sorry. Take me a second. For the, approval of the minutes from 11:16. Wait,
Or 30?
11:16, yeah.
did we approve them?
Oh, yep.
Were the, sorry, that's the one I have in front of me. The, on line 18. Oh, wait,
That would be
hold on.
20 and 21.
Yes, 20 and 21. The motion, Owen Friend Gray made the motion and Charlotte Fife seconded.
No.
And the vote was, I have 9-0 and 1, because I abstained because I was not present. So,
All right.
that's in my notes. And then, let's see what I have. And I have the same two for the November 9th minutes. Owen Friend Gray motion, Charlotte Fife seconded.
That
The vote
makes-
was 10-0. Is that the right one? 2, 3,
So
5, 6,
Wait,
was Sandra present then at that one?
9, 10. That we would be 11 with everyone
Right,
present.
sorry. Right.
So 10, it would have been 10-0. That's what I have in my
right,
notes.
so that doesn't, so, and the other one you said 8-0 and 1?
9.
9:01.
9-0 and
9-0
1.
and 1, okay.
And then 10 and
10 and
0 on from November 9th.
All right, that makes sense, that it would be the same person seconding.
And then the adjournment, I have the motion on line 82. The adjournment, Owen Friend Gray and JM, which I'm assuming is Jeff.
Second, so motion made
And I would
by
assume
Owen
that
and then
was-
seconded by Jeff Morrison.
Yes.
I gotta believe that was a 10-0 pass too. I don't remember anybody ever objecting to us.
Yeah, I'm sure it was
Adjourning.
10-0.
All right, but
I did last week.
Yes.
So it did happen last week.
I think at that point, 5 people had already packed and were running for the door.
I might have missed that one. I might have been running out the door.
All right,
All right.
I'll make a motion that we approve the November 30.
So, sorry, I got one other
Okay,
correction. So line 27, I think it should state, just before that, the sentence starts, there is misinformation, should just state, Miss White stated. Because that sentence is not accurate. I mean, I don't want to put words in someone's mouth, like if she stated that, that's fine, but just to be stated as fact, it's not accurate. I know the misinformation that it's being referred to, it specifically said selectmen/town administration, and that would be accurate. So to say that there was misinformation circulating online is not accurate. So, but I would say we add in there so that we don't make a big discussion about it, just Ms. White stated.
This is in line 27.
Yeah.
After selectmen, the beginning of the sentence.
so Ms.
Yeah.
White stated there is,
Yep.
Board okay with that? Okay.
Accurate.
all right, I'll make a motion that we accept the November 30 Meeting minutes with those changes we just discussed, so line 1516, Owen Friend Gray made the motion, Charlotte Fife seconded with a vote of 10-0. Lines 2021, Owen Friend Gray made the motion, Charlotte Fife seconded with a vote of 9-0-1. Line 27, at the beginning of the first full sentence, had Ms. White stated there instead of that there or whatever. I crossed over it, so I can't really tell. And then line 82, 83, motion to adjourn was made by Owen Friend Gray and seconded by Jeff Morrison and passed with a vote of 10-0.
I second the motion as stated.
Okay. All in favor of accepting the minutes from November 30th with the adjustments?
I abstained because I wasn't here.
Okay, so that was, how many in,
10-0-1.
how many in favor then?
Sounds good to me, but whatever.
How are we voting?
2 abstaining, yeah.
You abstained?
Yeah, no, I
5,
voted,
6,
yes.
7, 8 in favor and 2 abstentions?
802.
802. The Vermont area code. Is that video online, or is it just
No.
too corrupted to? to make
Well,
it-
that was the problem. We went to go put it online, and there was only a very short, it was only a couple megabytes. There was a small clip of it, and the rest of it was just corrupted, so we couldn't upload it.
Okay.
Did we
So
figure out what
fortunately,
the
what
cause
happened
was?
live was great, but,
No.
what's that?
Did we figure out what the cause was, so we don't have it happen
It was in the
again?
transfer from, there's a separate drive that the video file saves to, and then Kelly has to upload it to her computer, and something happened in the process. It was just a hiccup, unfortunately, but hopefully it was a one-off.
Copy and paste, not cut and paste.
Yes. Our IT spent the better part of the day trying to recover it, and they just couldn't.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Can you just have this thing streamed to YouTube like the school does? Because YouTube will archive it for free.
We're hoping that when we do the audio-video upgrades, we can, we're just working with an old archaic system right now that is still in place, so we do have hope for future technology upgrades. Better video quality, maybe like capturing who exactly is talking a little better.
All right, onto the meeting minutes from last week, December 7th. Are there any additions or?
I don't know, we just got this a few hours ago,
Yeah,
so.
let's take, we can take a few minutes and read through it then. That was an awfully long meeting to put on 3.5 pages.
What's that ESSER grant thing? Is that
Where?
ASSER or?
It's E. I didn't get there yet. Faster reading than me. It's E. S. R. E. R.
I think it's
It's an
ESS.
acronym. It's an acronym, of course, so, where is that?
It's line 27.
Yep.
Oh, that's why I didn't see it, yeah, it's ESSR, I think.
Line 82, I think that should say pay 19.64% of the teacher's retirement of the teacher's salary towards retirement.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So what's your change, Tom, on 82, the school district?
Instead of saying teacher's retirement, it should say of the teacher's salary towards their retirement plan.
Wow.
Yeah, you might as well change the while to and. And then on 93, it says that I questioned whether it pays for individual Zoom subscriptions per person. I don't think that's what I said. I'm wondering if it's still paying for like Zoom teleconferencing licenses like they used when they were doing remote classes. Like whatever Zoom services are in addition to running a phone service, essentially.
So what's your recommended change? Changing what?
For Zoom teleconferencing subscriptions.
So strike individual
Yeah, I don't know what the individual stuff is.
and teleconference and strike per person?
Sure.
That doesn't even make sense.
So how would line 93 read then, Tom?
Including whether it pays for Zoom teleconferencing subscriptions that were used during COVID.
It is ESSER, is ESSER, Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund.
ESSER?
ER, yeah, in all caps.
Everybody ready, or you guys still?
Did Tom really, object to the motion?
And then
There you
Tom
I
go.
was
guess-
8-1 and 0, right?
8-1
Would be the vote.
On line 139.
And then two other things to add is just the spelling on my last name. It's A, not E, in 55 and 57. Spelled right in the members. So you got all of them, John?
Huh?
You got them all?
I got
You
it.
ready?
Yeah, all right, I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of December 7th with the following changes. Line 27, ESSER grant should be ESSER, all caps. Lines 55 and 57, Mr. Friend Gray, both of those should be GRAY. On line 82, the school district is required to pay 19.64% of teachers' salary to retirement, and the employee pays 7%. On line 93, covers, including whether it pays for Zoom telecommuting, I'm sorry,
Conferencing?
teleconferencing subscriptions that were used during COVID. And the final change should be 139, a vote of 810.
Would it be
7.
710?
Oh, 710? Okay. 710 then.
I second the motion as stated.
All in favor of accepting the minutes as amended?
I abstain because I was not here.
Same here.
Same.
How many approved?
Oh, yeah,
You
I'm
approved?
sorry,
All
I
right,
thought
1,
it,
2, 3, 4,
was too fast.
5, 6. 6 approved,
I
and
feel
then
like this is.
1, 2, 3,
3
4.
abstentions.
6 approved, 4, 6, 0, 4. Okay.
Oh, how did I get 2 copies of this one?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just counting and realized that it says members present, Sandra Jones member, and members absent, Sandra Jones, on the top of the minutes. I was counting to
Oh,
the
see.
math of the,
Oh, look at that.
so it says Sandra Jones was present
Is
and
there
absent.
Schrodinger's member?
Andrew's here in spirit, even though she's
Well,
not.
I was counting the
She
number.
said she was out, so we're gonna take her word for it.
We're gonna take her
Yeah.
just straight down.
Yeah,
Well, I
so-
watched part of it on television, does that count?
I make an amendment to my motion
Okay.
to remove Sandra Jones from the members present on line 2.
Doesn't add up. Okay.
Second the amendment.
Yeah,
Second,
all right.
all in favor of the motion to remove to amend the amendment
To remove me. Go ahead, remove me.
as discussed?
Okay.
Back to the same 604.
Ah, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
Sorry.
No, good catch.
All right,
Now to regular business.
not a regular business. I don't know if it would be helpful, but before we jump into this, just looking at the calendar going forward,
Oh, yeah, no, that would be great.
would that be good?
Yes,
Because-
absolutely.
Because I was looking for my copy and I couldn't find it buried in whatever
Oh,
emails.
should I send out a fresh copy of the calendar? Or should we print it out for next week? Or you just want to hear it?
It's just hearing's fine. It's
Okay.
just like, which days do we not meet?
So this week, we were talking about the town budget draft. Next week is school budget draft. The week after, so we go straight through. The week after is town final proposed budget. That's the 28th. January the 4th is the school final proposed budget. Tuesday, January 9th is the town budget hearing, when John assures me we will hear from the public.
Yes.
On Thursday, January 11th, is the school budget hearing. January 16 is a snow day for either of those if necessary. That's a Tuesday. Then when we do our, make our proposals and vote to recommend or not recommend the budget, right now it's scheduled for January 18th for the town, which is a Thursday. It says recommendation for budget, town and school. And then if we need January 25th, which is also a Thursday, recommendations for town and school.
I didn't hear clearly.
Yep.
Do we have any Tuesdays?
Yes, there's one Tuesday, January 9th,
January
is
9th.
the town budget hearing. Now, last year, if I remember correctly, I think we made our recommendations and motions and changes, et cetera, on those budget hearing nights. So I don't know.
Yeah, so if we knock it out those nights, do we just not do it the next week?
Yeah, if we finish them those nights.
Yeah,
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so then as you guys prepare and keep your notes for things that you wanna change and adjust, those would be the nights. So I guess be prepared on Tuesday, January 9th for your amendments to the budgets, the town budget, and then January 11th for amendments to the school budget. If the hearings go long and we decide to bump them down, then we'll make our changes and amendments either on the 18th and the 25th, depending on how much time we need.
right, we could maybe potentially do them both on the same night.
We-
Right, it depends
yeah.
on what,
It depends on the hearings, right?
yeah,
Okay.
and what we decide we want to do, because we don't, we can have the hearing, we could actually start talking about them and then continue later
We
too.
can continue later as well, so. But I guess the earliest that we would make amendments and changes would be on January the 9th for the town and January 11th for the school. That makes sense?
Makes sense.
So that's kind of the plan. We're getting closer and closer to the budget. When do we see warrant articles?
The petition warrant articles are due on Tuesday, January 9th, it's the second Tuesday in January.
Okay, so that would be just.
That's
just
when
in
they're
time
due to
for-
be turned in, right?
Right, so that would
Yeah,
be
so the
seen.
selectmen started discussion at their work session on this past Tuesday, and will be,
What's the date for that warrant?
petition warrant articles are due January 9th.
Which is the same day as a town budget hearing, so
So we
They're
won't
due
see
at,
the
like,
warrant
close of
articles
business,
until,
right?
Correct.
So,
we won't.
will we see them then? Will
we
they?
have to.
I can have them,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So we might need to, if we can't work through them all that night, we might need to meet, a later date for that. Maybe we'll know what they all are by then. Do we have any now? No.
Not yet.
Next week or in 2 weeks? Maybe?
It all depends on who wants to petition something.
The petitions, but.
I think the only ones that I've heard about so far might be about road adoption.
Well, don't they have a limit when you can put them in and so you couldn't be putting them in already, could you?
No.
Okay.
Well, no, it is, yeah, technically it is open. They can file a petition.
I thought there was a week that you had to do it.
No, that's to sign up for office.
Okay, all right, I knew it was a week for something.
Road adoption is, there's still roads that
There are still
are
roads,
private.
there are still private roads.
Thought we
that-
got them all last year.
Yeah, so the petition warrant article, so it's whenever they can get 25 registered voters
Okay.
to support the efforts.
Before Tuesday, January 9th.
Correct.
End of business.
Right. Otherwise, they have to wait another year.
Yeah. Okay. Any question on that? Do we need to go through whose term ends this year? Like so the town has an accurate record of, offices that need to be filled for next year? When do we need to do that? Anytime?
Anytime.
Anytime. You wanna do that now?
Sure. Should,
Sure.
Yeah, let's
Should be
make
a
sure we
record
get it
of it,
right
but-
this year.
Let's make sure we get it right, yes.
yes.
So whose term is up this year? Charlotte just got voted in, right?
Yeah, mine was just a one-year term.
Tom
Write this down.
and then Jeff said his 3.
So Jeff, you're ending your 3?
Yep.
And Brent, you were 1?
Yeah.
And Tom, you were 1?
Yeah,
Well, there was a
appointed
Till now.
for the
appointed,
vacancy.
but whatever the difference left of the
And
person
I'm not
who
sure
was,
when I'm up. I'm not sure when I'm up.
right? 'Cause
Whose
if the-
was it?
Said it on
That's
the
what I'm
website,
not
I
sure,
think.
if that person only had a year left,
It
or
was Michelle.
Michelle.
shall.
So hers
She had
would
been
have
here for
ended this
2,
year
right?
anyway,
Yeah.
so.
She was, okay, it was up, yeah.
And Sandra, we're not sure.
You had Michelle's. Brent, you got Keistas.
No, he's on,
Well,
he
he was
got in on the
elected,
ballot
but
this
yeah,
time.
so that was the one year.
Yep.
I'm either up this year or next year, and I'm not sure which, what
It's
it
on the
is.
website, right?
So say, should say.
I thought you just got reelected, Sandra.
It was 2 years
I
ago.
got another year after that.
No, I was,
Yeah, I think
it was,
we got
Year previous.
it was,
Okay.
So you still got one more
Would you like
year,
me to
I
go
think.
through the list?
then I've got
Yes,
one more
please.
year.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Okay, let's see, 2024, Jeffrey Morrison, Brent Tweed, Tom, is it Bukevich? Thank you, I always John Decker, 2025, Sandra Jones, 2025, Michael Kelly,
Okay.
2025, Owen Fred Gray is 26, Charlotte is 26, and Robert Kelly is 26.
All right, so it should be 3.
Perfect. So we're
3 for 3.
Three for
Actually,
3
back to
years
back.
of
3
reset to
recycle.
full seat,
All right.
full terms.
Okay. So 3 for 3. Well, that'll be nice.
Mike leaves something out, circle of trust.
All right, on to updates to the town proposed draft budget. Create any misinformation.
Can we go over the tax cap calculation worksheet first, just since it's short, we can get that out of the way?
Yes, I just distributed that because I know that you had talked about a worksheet that John Scruton had given you in the past, and there's quite a few of them saved, and that was, so I updated it with the most recent information, and I just want to see if that's what you're looking for. That's what we used as a basis for our workshop when the selectmen made their cuts on Tuesday, their last set of cuts.
Missing that one.
So what is the difference between column E and F?
It was just the way that it was set up. I think it was just to kind of give you a basis of where those, what those figures are, how we calculated over.
Can I get
the
that?
column F.
There wasn't enough.
Actually, I'm not sure.
Oh, thank you.
So the target number, the tax cap number is 5,149,309.
Correct. That's if you take the tax cap as being the amount of taxes, the difference between, the amount of taxes to be raised, you have to factor in your appropriations less your revenues. But then it's much like the default budget, like you have to add in any positions that may have been created by warrant article, get rid of items that may have been a one-off. So for calculation purposes, there was no warrant article consideration in this, so the revenues were reduced by any monies that were used from unreserved fund balance to offset warrant articles or special revenue funds. So it's strictly just the revenues that are related to last year's operating budget.
So column E,
Yes.
on the first line here, that first number, the 4,580,000.
That was-
That's straight out of, this is the 2023 budget
That
here.
was the appropriations
Dyslexia
as
typo.
approved.
And then
The
the,
This is math, I'm pretty
40,000
sure.
was for the property maintenance warrant article, which is a position that's going to carry forward into subsequent years.
but that's the rules for the draft budget. That Sanbornization thing, that's what that is. But I've never heard that applies to tax cap
Okay,
calculations.
and it was on the prior spreadsheet that John had done, he added in the 225,000 for the firefighter positions that were added. So I just followed the same process. Again, this is just for discussion purposes, this isn't a final document. If this is what you're looking for, then we'll carry
I'm
forward.
just trying to figure it out. And then the column F on that line,
It's
where
those
is that
two-
number?
It's those two figures.
No,
Actually,
it's not. No.
That.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It doesn't add up.
That doesn't add up.
So can I
can see
ask
my
while you're
computer.
looking at that, the 40,000, that was not for a continuous position for a project manager, that was a 1-year.
I thought it was, but.
was-
I used
That
to
was
read
the
article.
warrant.
That was, we want to spend 40 grand to do some maintenance.
In 1
To
year.
contract a
Yeah.
property maintenance company, and then the wording got changed at deliberative session, so what the selectmen are in the process of doing is putting a person, a subcontractor, in place for that position. And so with that comes the intention that it's not just going to be a one-time thing. We obviously have a need for somebody to oversee the facilities and handle the repairs and maintenance, because we haven't had anybody. We've been doing Band-Aid approaches for several years. The buildings are in poor condition, so that is the intention, is to move forward with that being a permanent.
Right. But the discussion here is whether or not that belongs on a tax cap worksheet. And then the second line in column E, so I'm assuming the 2,506,000, that one is the total of the revenues expected?
That was the revenues from the MS 434R revised that we did just before we set the tax rate, and that is less any special article revenues, which was the ambulance billing revenues, the 40,000.
So I notice our estimated number is a little higher. Are we gonna switch to using that?
Which estimated number are you talking about?
On the back page of the revenue spreadsheet you just gave us, it
Yes.
says 2024 estimated revenues.
So that's based on the proposed budget. There were some line items that were moved from rec revolving into the operating budget to be offset by rec revolving funds to come in as a revenue.
Mm-hmm.
As well as we've been seeing an increase, a regular increase in both the highway block grant funds and the room and meals tax, because it's population-based. So it's just following that trending forward.
So when you say the rec revolving revenue, you said that that was changed based on stuff moving out of being paid by rec revenue, stuff being moved out of rec revolving fund and being moved into the budget, or vice versa?
It's really a combination. We have a position and a half of rec department staff that have been funded solely out of the rec revolving fund. They're not impacted, they're not shown in the operating budget. So if you look at it from a transparency standpoint, your rec department looks like it operates on, I'm just gonna throw a figure out there because I don't have the exact figure, but $120,000 a year. So in addition to that, there's a whole, $70,000+ full-time position, including the benefits, and then, so what we tried to do is just to move it in to give a better idea of what it actually costs to
Yeah.
run the recreation. So instead of just having it show separately,
So my confusion is there, if we change, so right now there's some amount budgeted in the budget for
Correct.
rec. And if some amount of that was put, if we were to say, that's not gonna be in the budget, that's to come out of rec revolving, that, making that change, does that change any of these numbers in the tax cap calculation for revenue?
absolutely, because it will be, it's technically money it's an amount that's been plugged into the operating budget, offset by the revenues. So if
So
you're
then we
just gonna
expect
say.
that revenue.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if we delete from one side, we're deleting from the other, so it'll just be a wash.
But if we delete from, so if we take money out of the budget and we say that you're to spend that out of the rec revolving fund, then we are also expecting more revenue in the rec revolving fund in our anticipated revenues.
No, because the rec revolving fund is separate, completely separate.
But why is it on this, so it's separate on this worksheet here? Is that why these numbers don't match between this 2,567,000 and this 2,506,000?
$1,560,000 and $2,506,000.
On this spreadsheet you gave us with the revenues, on the
Yes.
very back
So
page,
that's,
at the grand total, I'm seeing, for estimated revenues of 2024, I'm seeing 2,567,000, and,
okay, so the number that you're referring to in column E is base revenues off of last year.
okay.
So those were the 2023 revised estimated revenues that we used when we set the tax rate. That's, again, this is the way the form was calculated.
Okay,
So is line 5, the estimated revenues from this year?
It is.
okay.
So it's the difference between the two. What was originally estimated last year versus what we're estimating for 2020. And when I say last year, I mean 2023. What was originally estimated for 2023 less what's estimated for revenues in 2024.
So, let me just phrase this as an example. So if we took, say, $10,000 out of the rec budget and said that that $10,000 whatever is to be paid out of the rec revolving fund, would we then see a change in this number on our estimated revenues?
No,
No.
because I did not figure in that $10,000 as a revenue. So the only revenue that's showing in the revenue report is just the full-time with benefits that has been previously fully funded out of the rec revolving.
But if you were to redo this estimated revenues, then it would be 10,000 higher?
I could, I mean, if you're gonna take it out of the operating, if you're gonna take it out of the operating budget and have it strictly, that, it wouldn't even make sense. There's no point in the revenue coming in if the expense isn't coming out of the operating budget.
Isn't
It would
the
just
rev-
come out of it would come out of the separate fund.
Why is that revenue not being counted in the first place?
Because it's used for programs.
Yeah, but it's still
It's,
revenue.
it is.
So why is this,
But
why
it's
is
the way
it,
Shouldn't it
that
be
the
including
recreation-
all our revenue?
yeah, that's
Instead
my
of,
question.
don't hide
When you're
revenue.
estimating your revenues, you're only estimating the revenues that are going to be offsetting your appropriations to be raised by taxes. Your special funds are separate,
So why are these 68,000 in here?
because that's the full-time position with benefits. So it was previously just set aside using the rec revolving funds. It was never
Right.
part of the operating budget. We're trying to move it into the operating budget for transparency on how much it costs to run the department, and then offsetting it by showing those rec revolving fees coming in.
So you're gonna bring those revenues in,
Correct.
okay? So why not just leave them where they were and?
We can certainly do
Just
that, so
if-
the
Either bring all the revenues in and budget for the whole thing.
the concern is that if there's ever an opportunity that the rec revolving fees aren't there to support the position is gone.
That's the
Yeah,
motivation
if you
to,
can't
that's the
support it.
motivation to do a good
Right.
job and get people to put on programs
That's the
that people
purpose of
want.
supporting it, right?
Yeah,
That's right, that was.
It needs
So
to, it needs to
then-
support it.
So this was the push of trying to put it out there and give it the support that the rec department is looking for, but it is ultimately your budget after the selectmen get done with it, so.
I
do
thought it
as
was
you choose.
removed last year though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Removed? And they're trying to put it back in this year. So it was removed last year and it did cover it,
Okay.
you know?
and I think when we had them in here, Courtney in here and stuff, they went over the amount that they had collected in revenue and the amount that was not covered. The shortfall that would have been, the amount that they needed to be completely self-sustaining as a department. I think we did the math, we looked at how many people participated in the spreadsheet she gave, and it looked like if you added $1 to fees, that they would be entirely self-sustaining.
And they did make an increase this year.
Right. And then we're saying $1 extra in the fees and the department can be entirely self-sustaining. Anyways, that answered my question, so.
Now, is that with everybody?
What do you mean?
You mean all positions over there?
The whole rec budget.
The whole rec
Yeah,
budget?
all the budget, the amount that was in the town budget for the rec department that was not covered by the rec revolving fund, to pay for that out of the rec revolving fund, it looked like about $1 per person fee would have been sufficient to meet that, because they weren't that far off from like breaking even, and it shouldn't be hard for them
I
breaking
didn't
even
know
either.
that covered the directors though. I thought the directors was always in the budget. The assistant directors was the one who was going in and out throughout the years. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Right there. I got
But,
my-
yeah, it shouldn't be too hard for them to be self-sustaining, since, they're tax-free, they're getting the office space, electricity.
Oh, yeah, it's subsidized by
facilities,
the
all that
taxpayers,
stuff.
I get it.
Yeah.
I understand it totally, it's, free electric, free heat, free, a regular small business wouldn't operate like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, you're correct. It's pretty easy to show revenue, you know what I mean, when you had subsidized like that. Like,
And they're close, they're pretty close to being self-sustaining, so.
I mean, I used it with my kids, I thought it was a great program, and they raised prices when I was doing it, and it was still a good deal, you know what I mean? You looked at surrounding towns,
Still a good deal today.
it is still a good
That's
deal.
why it's so
today.
popular.
Yes, I have to agree with you. They do a good
So,
job.
So Ellen, what are the two numbers in column F then for lines 2 and 3? Why are there separate numbers?
Because it is line F6 minus F7, because it would be your appropriations less your revenues, to come up with a base year to be raised by taxes. But of course, there's a calculation error in that first one. The 458366 plus 40,000 doesn't equal the,
Tom, are you asking if it applies to both lines 2 and 3?
No, I'm just asking, we have one number for lines 2 and 3 in column E. and
What I'm
then two
thinking is that
numbers.
the line didn't carry through. If you look at the formatting of all the rest of them,
Yeah.
that's where it would fall.
So there just would be no number?
I'm wondering if there's supposed to be no number in E3. Is that the case, Ellen? If you look
I
at the
do
actual
believe so.
spreadsheet?
Yes, because all it is it's just,
I think it's
I'm
just a
looking at the
formatting
cal,
miss.
so the calculation is F6 minus F7. So it would be your appropriations less your revenues comes out to F8. Or line 3.
F6.
But with this incorrect number, because
Yeah.
the top number should be 4,620,000.
366.
Wait,
So I
sorry.
just draw this line in here.
Yeah, I think that's all. I think just the formatting
All
line
right,
got
that
lost.
makes it slightly less
I
confusing.
thought the same thing for a bit
Yeah.
there.
4580, right? 346.
So Ellen, the final number that you have written on here, oh, sorry, were you answering
Oh,
something?
yeah, well, I just wanted to say, so this is not finalized. This is something that we were just kind of working on as a basis Tuesday night for the selectmen's work session. I wanted to make sure this is the spreadsheet that you were referring to at the November 30th meeting, I think it was. Because I think Robert had one that he shared with somebody else, and I didn't see which one it is. So
What's
I'm
that? Oh, that was last year's.
Right, but is this the same sheet, or is this the same
Similar,
format?
yeah, I do have
That's
another
what
one
I'm trying to
somewhere.
find out
Oh,
what
I
you're
think
gonna be looking for.
Tom didn't give the one back I gave him last week.
Oh, I
Stole it.
thought you said you had an extra.
I did.
So if somebody
Oh,
can
no.
share with me the
Yeah, it is right
document
here.
from last year,
Yeah.
then,
Do you want to pass it? Let me take a picture because I don't have another one.
Before you lose this one too.
I'll get it to you at the end of the meeting.
Tom's taking this one too. I want them all.
They're all going in the file, I got them.
Yeah, I love technology.
Like I said, when I was going through John's files, there was at least a dozen versions of this, so
Don't worry about it.
I wanna make sure that we're working off of what you're used to working with.
I never was.
It looks similar.
Believe in the first place. Everything.
Hey, Ellen, I don't know if you started talking about it, but like the warrant article for the fire department that increased the full-time members from last year, which was, I don't know, 200,000 or 300,000 or something like
Yeah, it was
that.
225,000.
Is that getting plugged into this number? How,
I believe so. Is that
well, this, oh, sorry, this is your, tax cap.
no, I know that, there's one coming over from,
Yeah,
It's in front of Jeff.
So those other ones would
Jeff's trying
not,
to steal
because
it
that
from
was
you.
raised. Those would already then be incorporated into the
the 23 budget.
23 budget.
So that's what he had
it
done
would come
here, base year town meeting approved budget. So he used the warrant article for operating budget figure and warrant article 5, which was the 225,000 added for the firefighters to come up with the base. So that's the same methodology that I carried forward for the property maintenance position.
okay, so just to answer my question, so that, this number does include the additional 200,000 plus for the fire department?
Last year's would have,
Last year's
it's
would
in the
have.
operating budget this,
Okay.
in
In the 4.5.
2024.
It's going into the operating budget for 2024, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And then Ellen, I got a question, column E on line 5, we have 2,567,000 minus 2,295,000.
Yes.
That is 272,000 and change. So is the 162 in column F, is that an error?
That is not an error. I mean, if you take those two figures, it's a lot higher.
Yeah.
It actually comes out to 272,179.
Right,
So that's the difference between what was estimated.
that's our revenue, projected revenue increase, right?
Correct.
So what's the number in column F? What's the 162,000?
The 162,000, the 162,000 was a plug figure of what we were originally using for an increase in revenue, and that was based on the offsetting rec revolving fees and the increase in the highway block grant and room and meals tax projections.
Now, wasn't that?
Sorry, so the column E, line 5, column E, that is the projected revenue increase.
The 162, yes, but
No, then what's the
the
272?
272 is how it actually calculates out when you plug in the MS 737 minus the MS 434 revenues
Right.
from the actual Department of Revenue forms.
So why is the projected revenue in column F so much lower than the calculated one?
Because there's calculation errors in here.
All right.
So it should be the 272.
It should be the
179?
272, 179.
Okay.
So that's $110,000 difference then.
Okay.
So
Okay.
do we know what the real number is then? Since that number is wrong and the number in
know,
line
I was gonna
1F
say,
is
so
wrong.
Again, this
Yeah, yeah.
wasn't for
No, no,
like
no,
it's
not.
calculation purposes, it was just to say, is this the form that you want to use
Yeah.
moving forward?
Okay.
So, because we do have it and it is miscalculated, F6 would be 4,620,366.
F1 to us. Yeah. Sorry.
F1 to you. F2 stays the same, F3 stays the same. F4 would be 86,143. F5 would be 272,179. And F6 would be 4,978,688.
All right, well, this is the right form, so I look forward to getting it with the correct numbers.
Thank you.
It's just pretty confusing.
Yeah, wasn't it the first year you brought it out though, this form? I think it was the first year.
Oh, we just had to trust them that that's the way you do it.
Oh, yeah, we asked a little more questions.
It was all new that year.
And the nice thing about a tax cap is it's self-enforcing.
What do you mean?
It means it's up to us to determine how we calculate it.
It might not be for
Revenue
long.
Or whomever might not, right.
Yeah.
Well, there's new legislation, of course, but as of right now, it's self-enforcing.
Do we want to go over the revenues or the budget?
I don't think we've seen revenues yet, have we?
They've been distributed.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we've gone over them as a
Yeah.
board, right? Yeah, so maybe we'll start with revenues, and then then after, if it's okay with the board, then we'll do budget and the changes and adjustments there.
Sounds good.
All right.
Assume current first issue is all the money we got off the first tax bills.
Correct?
How'd we already get $30 on the second one?
No, cannot do that.
No, how did we
Wait,
already
second.
get 30?
How did we already get it?
It's on the revenue sheet, yeah.
Prepayments?
Or prepayments?
People that round up maybe and apply it to their future tax bills.
Or
No.
just overpaid their
Tax-
first one?
Tax, yeah, it could be, or it could just be a really small tax bill. Tax bills were mailed out last Friday, so people have the opportunity to go on and pay.
And then prior, that's like people that owed it that are now paying it from previous years? Do we count the current use change penalty in the revenues? Because those
Anything in
are,
red is not calculated into the revenue calculations.
because that goes into the conservation fund.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's why there's no figure carried forward to the right-hand column.
What is the difference between excavation yard and excavation activity?
That's a good question. It's just a line item in the operating system, the accounting system. All excavation tax.
zero anyway, so could be that they're lumped together.
Motor vehicle taxes.
So this interest and penalties on delinquent tax, is that just what it says, taxes that hadn't been paid, so, but they have been paid now, so that's why it goes revenue.
Yes.
Are there more homes, even a budget question, are there more homes that are gonna have trouble, I don't know, it's even a budget question, are they gonna have trouble paying their tax bill now? Like, the second tax bill is quite a bit higher than the first. So do we know how many
I thought-
homes couldn't, or are in, whatever, delinquent on their first tax bill? Is that like a number we can know versus
I wrote down 14
14?
somewhere, 14 deeds on lien.
So those would be the properties,
that's-
those are properties that would be eligible for,
Those are ones that haven't paid in at least like a year or something, right? Yeah,
Oh, at least a year? Has to
I
be a
think
year?
so.
too.
2 year.
Well, it's 2 years till they can tax deed them, I think. I think they can put a lien on them earlier than that, though. So that wouldn't even, that wouldn't,
The 14 properties he's talking about, I think that came from Tracy Black's presentation. Those were the properties that would be eligible for tax deeding.
yeah.
Yeah, mortgage research.
So those would have been 2 years in arrears.
Cheers.
But to answer your question, if somebody wants to inquire with Tracy Black, the tax collector, she can let you know what's outstanding on the first half
Okay.
tax billing.
Does that mean we can, so we don't estimate revenues for, interest on prior first and seconds, even though we're collecting 4,000 or 5,000?
I think that's a principal figure, because you'll see down a little bit further, you'll see the lien interest. That's actually the interest on priors.
Sorry, that's just historical data, or that's interest that we are collecting off of old liens?
Interest, so it's interest on the first half of this year. I don't know, like, I don't know what this is all from the accounting system. Everything here in the gray is interest for property taxes going back to 2000, it looks like 9. So it's property tax interest, it's land use change tax interest.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like, is 2009 lien interest, is that just to let us know how much there was in 2009? Or is that saying
That
that
was
there is a
money-
lien that was put in 2009 and this is how much is due at this point?
That is interest on a property that was in lien status for 2009 taxes that has since been collected this
Okay,
year. So these are interest revenues, so this is collected interest received on those liens.
so this is like someone sold the property and then the lien was fulfilled?
Possibly,
Yeah,
or it could just be a property that the town has been deed waiving for several years because we don't want to pick up additional liability, or, you know.
so there must be a lot of properties with liens on them, because there's one here for almost every year. You got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's a pretty good spread. But then nothing
But
from
these
18?
are all collected, so we did have one property that was a significant, I mean, it had been in lien status for many years, and it was, gosh, it was quite a bit of money. It was over 100,000, wasn't it? Yeah, there was quite a bit of tax revenue that was due on it, that was paid this year, it was settled this year.
So was it like all these were one
A
property?
lot of that probably was,
All right, because the whole, so I'm assuming that the grays add up to this gray total of 104,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
wondering too.
That would make sense.
'Cause that's the charged
Why you'd have
interest
so
on
many
each
in a row like that.
Yeah. So, and the
10, 20,
beiges add up to that beige or whatever, is that?
yep,
60, 70.
How is
So-
it managed when tax goes into abatement for elderly and that sort of thing? Because those taxes are eventually paid at some point when the person dies or sells the property, correct?
for the elderly,
If
There's-
you're, are you talking about elderly exemption?
Yes,
they're not taxed
They're
on
not,
the full
that's-
value of their property.
Yeah.
And
It's almost like
that
the
never
veteran
gets
thing,
paid
right?
back or anything? Okay, I thought it got paid back.
It's like the same as the veteran's tax credit.
Yeah.
That never
Okay.
gets paid back.
I think that essentially lowers the tax base, right? if we're exempting a portion of their property value, that would, to me, do that we're lowering the tax base.
Well, it's all, that's how you calculate the amount of money coming in from the amount of money we're taxing on, so that would be, yeah, when you take all those off there, it's gonna give you your finalized number.
I think this.
Now, did you see a big impact from the
Yes, it does.
solar when that went through past? You know, I mean, the solar reduces also the value of the house.
Yeah, that should have lowered the tax base.
That's your lower tax base also. We know what that is.
I remember signing a bunch of those, I don't remember exactly how many and what the total number was. But we had to go back and write that all off in order to give them the exemptions. And now it's all calculated in for this upcoming year, so they won't be taxed on it.
Right,
So if
but
you don't have
going
solar-
forward though, anyone else puts solar on, they can still,
If they put solar on, when they come around to assess their house, they're just not gonna say anything but solar, it's just, note they have solar, but they're not gonna put a value.
oh, I
on that
gotcha.
solar.
Okay, I gotcha.
But if you don't have a solar, your taxes went up.
Nice. There's no grants in here, right? Is that correct?
I'm sorry, this.
You don't
No.
count grants?
No.
Right, okay.
that 'cause
This
they're-
is consistent revenue that we receive on an annual basis.
Timber yield tax, I don't even know what that is.
Do you
When
remember
you
tax?
clear cut your land, or.
If you cut more than a certain amount of wood,
Exactly.
10 cords or some number of board feet, you have to pay a certain stumpage tax.
Oh, okay.
Towards that, so yeah.
So I'm assuming the Board of Selectmen just signs those things now. We used to do those, we used to do those on Board of Assessors when that was a thing.
The board signs for everything that's for assessing.
Cable franchise fees, is that just general money, or do we have to spend that on certain things?
It has been earmarked for visual updates, so it's in a, it's not a special revenue fund, but it's set aside in a special fund for when we need to make upgrades.
Sounds like a reasonable thing.
So the
This is a
highway,
highway block grant.
that's what I was gonna say. The highway block grant, is that just a consistent annual figure? Is that why
It comes
that's?
in quarterly,
Okay, but it,
and it's based on the population and mileage of municipal roads in town.
so that grant does come in because
Yeah.
it's a consistent.
Correct.
What are town clerk decals? Are those part of the vehicle registration stuff?
Yes.
Quick question, now, the school gets grants, is that like, you know, that this year, remember we sort of divided it, school got some and we got some, the advocacy grant, does that go on here too
The
then?
town does not get any portion of it.
Even though they received some this year from it, right?
The adequacy?
Yeah,
You mean the 1/3, so that
Yeah, the 1/3.
adequacy aid that came in, the school took the whole 2/3 that it was able to take, and then
To
there
put
was
into the
1/3,
budget.
like 65,000, that was able to go to the town,
To the,
to the general fund, I guess.
right, to the general fund. But that would just, again, offset how much needs to be raised and appropriated for the budget, so, in that way.
Right, but I
would
think the
believe.
question is, does that end up in the revenues?
In the town's revenues?
Yeah.
No, because I don't think it would come to the town's revenues, because ultimately, the
Why
budgets
wouldn't
are
it end up in the
separate.
town's
Yeah.
revenue? Because
Yeah.
it came
that's what I'm
back to
saying,
the
'cause there's
town.
grants in here, and that's a grant, it's just, because that's supposed to go back to, well, I guess the general fund if nobody.
I was just gonna say, I think that that's the difference between like the full general fund and the operating budget revenues and funds, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, just like there's the unexpended funds that they keep in the general fund, right, are not sitting within this budget, those are they're kind of separate items, I believe.
Ellen, what is UCC?
Uniform Commercial Code, it's business licensing. Town clerk fees.
So that's
for-
different than business license and permit on the previous page?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a town clerk function. They get a portion, the town gets a portion of it for business filings.
What's the stormwater? Can I ask?
Stormwater revolving fund, that is the, I got it tongue-tied.
Is that the SRF?
Yes.
State SRF fundings?
Yeah. So that is just, this first column is comprised of like all the revenues that come into the town. It's not necessarily, they're not all necessarily budgeted for, so this is offsetting our bond, not our bond, but our note that's gonna be paid off this year for the landfill.
Okay.
So technically, and I guess I probably should have clarified that, I mean, this is all of the revenues that the town receives in summary. Obviously, the figures in the column all the way to the right are what we're looking at for,
So how come not as many of them go over to the estimated revenues?
well, I mean, if you're looking at the first page, the gray is all totaled into the gray of the middle here, the 104, 384, that's all of these
And that goes
interest
over.
figures populated, and then you get into like the tan and then the grays again. So, obviously, the stormwater grant funds, those aren't continuous year after year. It's just money that we happen to
Okay.
receive this year.
So all the shading in the second column gets condensed down into a block number in the
middle
middle
column,
column,
correct.
and then that gets carried over.
Yes,
Gotcha. But highway block grant does not.
yes, it does.
Sorry, the SB 38 highway block grant.
Correct, because those are one-time appropriations. Those were based on, we actually had more money coming in for bridge aid, or it's just been received.
Is that like we get some amount around $40,000 every year? It just comes in with a different thing?
It came in, last year, it was under a Senate bill, and so we got a one-time allocation towards municipally owned roads, and then a second allocation for bridges, and then we're getting another disbursement. We've actually just received another disbursement within the past couple of weeks. We're having a public hearing on it this coming Monday. So those aren't-
Unpredictable.
Those are unpredictable,
Gotcha.
correct?
It's whatever extra the state has when they do their calculations. They just distribute it out evenly based on a calculation to everybody. Like Manchester got 2 this year, we got 1 last year, we had 0 the year before.
What is a moose grant?
The moose plate conservation plates, you can actually get grant money to be used toward, like, a lot of town clerks will use the money towards like, books and records preservation.
So why don't we get any moose grant money?
I guess it depends on how many moose plates people purchase when they register their auto vehicles.
I see a lot of them in town. Surely we should get more than $0.
Yeah, my wife had one. I'm like, whatever.
So how do we get
You
our
have to
moose
apply
grant
for
money?
it. You have to
Yeah,
apply
you have
for
to
it.
apply for it.
Can you instruct whoever can apply for it to apply for it?
It's not going to be, well, I mean, I guess if
It has
there's.
nothing to do with this revenue statement. I'm saying in general, there's a source of money that people in town are paying extra to get these moose plates and we're not seeing the benefit from
Well,
it.
it depends on what the grant requirements are. It might have to be expended towards a certain purpose.
Well, there's
Until we're
hundreds of
ready
dollars in
to-
the conservation budget that we could use it towards, like the water monitoring or something like that.
Grant writing is always welcome for anybody that would like to offer assistance.
The planning board, I see the estimated revenues for '24 is up in that department, looks like, is that the planning and the, it's like 3401, that middle column, and then, is that just because of buildings in town? It just looks like,
Estimated revenues for.
yeah, it
So
looks
this-
higher.
This was just based on actual projections through 11/15. So 85,000 had been received through November. We still had a month and a half of collections, and then I just looked at historically about what they run on an annual basis.
What is landfill closure? We're getting paid to close the landfill?
Yes, we receive, we receive money from the state for being good at our monitoring. Anywhere from $2,600 to $2,700 a year.
So that's because we're doing a good job monitoring our closed landfill?
I can get the exact that's just where it gets plugged into in this revenue sheet. I can
Well, it looks like that covers the mowing and stuff.
get clarification on exactly what it is.
Well, I don't, not that it is for the mowing, but the amount that it costs us to mow and everything over there that we're required to do.
I'm wondering how we're getting $11,000 back for pistol permits.
Yeah, isn't it $10 a permit and it's good for
I
like
thought it
3
was
years?
15.
15?
I think it's 15.
And
Still
it's
a
not
lot of permits.
required. That's a
Right,
lot of
it's
them.
like 730.
There is a donation that was received by, a very generous donation that was received by the police department that got plugged into that line item. The police department decided to put it in there for something to do with, I can't remember, but it's in there as a plug, it's not an exact.
Okay, because it looks like everybody in town just decided to get
Right.
armed up.
Quite a
Yeah.
few.
Yeah, I mean, that probably shouldn't be plugged into there.
Yeah,
That should be in miscellaneous, probably. That's what miscellaneous
CD
lines are for.
So is Marston Rec revenue estimate, is that just for the Marston property, or is that does that include the rec
That-
revolving?
so that is the rec revolving monies that I was using to offset the full-time position we added into the operating budget. That's a 68,000, so it's the full-time position plus benefits. So it's technically not Marston, it's just rec revolving. There should be a slash there, just because the recreation department's now charged with oversight on Marston. It's just one line item in this revenue budget.
For sale of recyclables, we got $47,000. Do you have a document with the breakdown of where that all came from? I think I had gotten one in years past. I'm assuming a lot of it is metals, but it'd be interesting to see.
As soon as the year closes, we'll
Yeah.
have all the totals to plug into the town report.
Great. It'd be interesting to see what actually makes any money selling
Money.
and what
metal.
doesn't.
Right.
Metal.
Metal's the only thing
Yep.
right now.
Aluminum? No aluminum?
Because I think the paper was costing us as much to recycle as to just throw in the
We pay the
landfill.
guy to bring it over in the thing, you know, we gotta pay him hourly to go do it, so 3 hours,
Well, you're getting a dump trailer
If it's-
now, it'll be real smooth.
well, yeah, so he's gonna drive it, so.
Less time shoveling, right?
You don't go through all the paper now that it's out in that big bin, do you?
What's,
you
what's
personally don't, I know,
TTF,
but-
Ellen?
Nah,
The last line?
I don't think.
TTF, trustee and trust funds.
Oh,
So
okay.
those would just be reserve fund or expendable trust
Reserves,
fund transfers.
sort of one-time reserve kind of things. Gotcha. So that was to buy the highway truck? That's what that?
Right, so that was it was just revenues that it
It is
carried.
$10.
That was for the truck that was purchased 2 years ago, but just delivered this year.
It is $10. I thought it was 15.
So this
No, it's probably,
25,
it's determined by the state, I
67.
think.
What is this? MS.
You don't even need it legally.
And we don't get the ambulance numbers till the end of the year, I guess. Ambulance revenues, the,
Actual receipt.
It's just, the 40,000 that's in there is just to offset the warrant article.
sorry, no, this is ambulance charges. This is, I believe what this is that when we use the ambulance, we bill it to another town or to something, and then we receive all that later at some point. We collect it all. Because I'm seeing 0 as actual revenues, 2023, for the ambulance charges. I'm assuming that's gonna get updated.
Yes, it will be. Where it is on here.
The top line.
The top one here. Okay.
And then speaking of trust funds, do we have like a list of all the funds with the balances? I think we asked for that, like kind of the same list that we see in the town report. We get, it has like a list of the funds of what's in them, but at the, usually get the town report like during town meeting, so like,
I have
we can't make
requested
any.
it. I don't have the updated version, so I will make sure as soon as I receive it that I'll distribute it to you.
And I don't know if there's like, is there a list, is there a version of the list that says what each one can be used for? Because I know there's like weird ones that, you know, someone will donate a bunch of money and it says, this is to be used for some specific purpose. And it might just sit there, we might not know that it's available for that purpose. And so there's certain things that might be in this budget or one-time things that we could use those for, and it's good to keep abreast of what each fund is for.
Well, you can't use them. It depends on, it would either be the authority of
The town could
the
use
vote
them,
or if the selectmen are agents to expend.
right.
So I
But they
can,
need to know that it's available.
I can get the trust fund balances and we should have at least the warrant article language from when they were formed. That should outline how they're to be expended.
And then do we know what the unassigned fund balance cash number is?
There is no unassigned fund balance cash.
Yeah, that's, the general fund's included in the unassigned fund balance. So the general fund has, I thought, the cash portion.
We got that last week.
Yes.
You know, and in an email, I have it here, it's like
Yep.
2.569, I'm sorry, 569,819. That was on November
That's
30th.
Yes.
Now, I'm just saying, I heard, I don't know if it's true, on the BOS, it's 2.369815 on December 4th. So did we spend the 200,000 somewhere, or is that just the wrong number it was spoken?
I don't think we discussed the unassigned fund balance at the fourth.
We have not discussed anything about the unassigned fund balance.
Actually, I believe it was you that was reading it.
No.
I just took, well, I don't have the video,
I wonder if that was a preliminary revenue figure that we were.
maybe.
Yeah, because we didn't discuss the unassigned fund balance. We're actually discussing it at the meeting on the 18th. Because we have to review and readopt the fund balance policy that the select.
Because you were talking about 5 to 17% state, and we're at 11.7%.
Oh, you were talking about from the
I
tax
was
rate
talking
setting.
about, now I understand. what you're
Unassigned
saying.
fund balance, is that correct?
I was reading the number that says we were in the percentage with the state, asked us to stay, you know, we were at 11 point something, which is.
11.7.
Which is where the state would like to see us to have our balance maintained. We're in the middle. We're not high, we're not low,
So that just was an accurate number, 2.369.
that was just on the paperwork that we got from the state that was projecting all the budget numbers.
Okay, because the email on November 30th was 2.569.
Okay, so the 2,569,000 that I gave you in the email, that was based on the MS 535, which would have been the close of the fiscal year of 2022.
Okay.
The amount that John announced on December 4th, 2,369,819, is the amount retained as of the tax rate setting. So that populates in any money that had been used from fund balance in the 2023 votes.
And then my question was, like 2 weeks ago, we had asked previously to get the unassigned fund balance or whatever it was.
Well, we did
And
get that.
We got it, yeah, but
Unassigned.
we got a number, but then you cautioned us and you said that that's not cash,
It's
that
not cash
includes
in the
like
bank.
unspent and all these other things. And so the question was, well, how much of it is just cash?
And
Which
I
we-
don't think we can,
I thought that was the general fund had it, I thought.
yes, the general fund has a cash balance. I mean, it's the bank account that the town operates. I did get a figure on that. It's $1 million and change.
Yeah, I think,
at
is that the one that you
present.
sent me, Ellen?
Yes,
Or from Betsy?
yeah.
I just
what
got
was
that,
it?
just, if this is the same one, it seems like 1,537,918.
That-
The balance in the TD checking account.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that right?
our,
Yep.
that's the general fund. That should not be mistaken for the unassigned fund balance. The
And so
unassigned fund
Yes, that's
balance,
correct,
as I
yeah.
explained to you, is a number that's on the financial statements, the balance sheet, which is a compilation of uncollected taxes, invoices that have not been processed at year end. It's assets minus liabilities. It's an accounting
Yeah.
equation.
And
So I can't possibly be able to tell you how much of the cash in the general fund is actually that unreserved fund balance. because
So would it
it's-
be fair to say that you take this $1.5 million balance in the TD Bank thing and you subtract out the 2023, the current year's budget that hasn't been expended yet?
No,
No?
No, because.
Because we
through
still have
that-
money to spend this year, right?
we do.
Yeah, so we don't want to count that.
I think you're getting off track, Tom. I think we need to focus on the budget review.
Well, part of the budget is knowing how much money you have. and
True.
But
All
the-
we're trying to figure out is how much money does the
But
town
we're
have in
not-
the bank that is
We're
not
not utilizing the
part of this
unassigned
budget.
fund balance on the operating budget. Right now, this is the basis for what you're going to raise for, this is your appropriations.
True.
We're not at, with the- as of right now, the operating budget, we're not requesting to offset that with unreserved fund balance.
But how do we know if we should request that or not if we don't even know how much
Last
we
year they
have
did.
available to do
They used
that?
100,000 offset the warrant articles.
Okay, so the warrant articles, but not the operating
Sure,
budget. This is one
sure.
warrant article. This is,
But we could, right? Couldn't the select board could use some of the towns?
they normally use the unreserved, or they could use the unreserved fund balance to buy down the tax rate.
Yeah,
But.
but
I-
wouldn't that lower the amount needed to be raised from taxation and thus affect the tax cap number?
Usually they do that for the individual warrant articles, not to fund the operating budget.
But it would be possible, right?
I guess anything's possible.
I mean, that might be a more,
Notice that, but
I've never heard of
I'm
a
just
board of
sitting here absorbing
selectmen
your
using
question.
unreserved fund balance to buy down the operating budget warrant article.
but it's possible, and I just wonder, so it sounds like the Board of Selectmen is trying to do their best to get the budget in under 4% to meet the tax cap. But the way you guys decided to do it at the meeting was to move all of the road maintenance money, $600,000 in road maintenance, out to a warrant article. And I just wonder if rather.
That's not, yeah, that's not.
And
so-
rather than risk, the critical function of the town taking care of the roads to a warrant article, might it be more prudent to,
The road maintenance
figure
is
out
still
other
being
ways?
taken care of in the operating budget. It's the reconstruction and paving projects and the seal coating.
Okay, well, as a layman, I see reconstruction, seal coating, that is all, sounds like maintenance to me.
Specific questions on this, I might like getting back to.
All right,
All right. Well, I guess we're done with the revenue.
yeah. We can go through the
There we go, come right back.
budget. Do you have,
Just, perfect.
All right, so, we got everybody good on revenue and existing budget balances?
Yeah, I just wanted to clear it up.
Okay.
I thought it's always been 300,000 in the warrant article, 300,000 in the budget.
That's what they told me when I
Yes, it
first got on
was.
budget
It was.
committee. They
Last year
said,
they
this
moved
is how we
100
always do it. We
Tom, you
always
got
do
that.
it."
Last year, they moved 100,000 out, so it was 400,000 in the warrant and 200,000 in operating. Now, this year, we haven't seen the warrant article, but there was talk about moving the 200,000 out, make it 600,000, and then dividing that, make it 3 and 3, because it's hard to pass a $600,000 road seal coat, and road maintenance, I believe, is the same thing I heard people talking about. It's listed separately, but it sort of could have, I don't know.
so is
the
that not in this
specifics.
budget?
The warrant articles?
No, I meant,
Well, that
No,
changed.
it's
That's
been
all. I mean,
that
that's,
change
I just
removed.
want to get the facts.
it's totally removed?
Was that just discussion then, nothing?
All right.
Oh, we took it out.
Oh, yeah,
So it is,
that's
so
in
it's
here.
reflected in
It's
here.
line
Oh,
282.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, should we go page
I
by page?
got a question for John,
Just
so.
a second, Brent, just a
Yeah,
second,
sure.
then we'll get right back to you.
Can we go in order?
Yeah, so before we jump to the road stuff, we'll go in order, that makes sense.
Thank you.
I think we're good on the revenue page.
Yeah.
Okay, Brent, did you have?
Yeah, no, so just regarding the road warrant articles, so when's, for selectmen, since you're putting a $600,000 total in warrant articles, like what date do you guys have to amend that? So the question really I have is if the budget committee adds money back in to the budget for that, are you gonna be able to amend your warrant article to reflect any money that we add back in?
You can amend the warrant articles
think-
until
I think-
January 9th.
The same night as public
Okay,
hearing?
so if the budget committee makes changes to the budget, the selectmen will have the ability to amend their, or update their warrant article? Okay, that was just.
If it happens on the 9th?
But you still have,
Right.
If it happens.
But do we have the last say on that then? Because if the petition warrant articles are due,
So the board,
They're not
the Board of
petition warrant
Selectmen came in and is presenting you right now with the 4% budget. That's what we were told to do. That is what we're deciding to do. This is the interest of the Board of Selectmen, how we figured for best for the town, all 5 members, that this particular budget and moving that 200 and keeping what's in it, the way it reads, was the best for the town. Whether you agree or not, we still came in with the 4% budget. So now it's up to you to do your job and discuss for what you think. So when we come back to the board, we'll take all your input And then you'll have the finalized budget from there.
Basically, they want us to make the tough decisions and take the.
That's an
rap for it,
opinion
yeah.
statement.
Yeah.
Let's
That's
keep
it,
this
yep.
to
Sure.
specific.
I'm not allowed to have
budget questions.
opinions?
Hey, you know what, Tom? You can say whatever you want, sure.
Thank
This is
you.
our opinion for what we think is right.
Right.
Whether your opinion's different from ours, that's an opinion. That's what it's there for.
Well, my opinion is that this is kind of a way to get around the tax cap. to
So
just
we're not
move
on
big
roads,
things.
we're on page one.
Right, well, before we get off roads, because Ellen, just, they're saying that, oh, it's not maintenance, but line 282, the line that $200,000 got taken out of.
On
and
page
was-
one.
We gotta start on page one.
That line is contracted road maintenance projects. Just want to bring that up.
Okay, and we'll get there.
Page 1.
Okay, so-
Any significant, do we want to go
gonna say-
through and highlight changes from the last time we saw this? So either Ellen or John, are there any significant changes? Because we saw the, whatever it was, 2 weeks ago?
Significant
She's gonna go,
changes.
and she'll tell you the differences. I'm just
I
gonna
mean, for the
chime in.
most part, we did find that there was a discrepancy in the spreadsheet. One of the tabs that calculates out the FICA tax was miscalculated. It was about $20,000 understated. So after the selectman was going through, had been very diligent in cutting a few thousand here and there, we found about 20,000 that we needed to add back into the budget. So I went back through and recalculated and fine-tuned the payroll taxes, the health insurance, brought them down as close as I possibly could. There were, we moved the merit compensation from the police department's salaries back into the merit compensation pool, and then the selectmen adjusted that slightly. That was like the last line item that they adjusted at their work session on Tuesday. The planning board planner was reduced by 6,000. Just based on year-to-date expenditures and the fact that the planning board will be bringing a representative in from SRPC on an as-needed basis rather than have them attend every single meeting. What else did we do? We cut about $4,000 out of the highway department's parts line. And of course, the big one was the $200,000 for the seal coating department, line item 282.
So can I ask a question on line 12? The software licensing. So it looks like the budget for 23 was 4,000. So far, 231's been spent. The proposed we saw last time had 2,000, and now it's down to 1,000. So is it stuff you're not using?
It was just an area that we decided to cut. So the Office 365 subscriptions that we were paying are built into the IT.
Right.
We had slightly discussed that. So there was some money that got added into the service contracts and equipment maintenance
Yep.
to cover that, but the Jungle Disk is our online backup, so that is a quarterly payment. We will see some more.
That's not under IT.
No, it's completely separate. It's a cloud-based software.
So
That's really the only thing that's there then? Because there
Yes.
shouldn't be any 365 there anymore if that's all under IT.
No, it's an old note.
Okay, so that's all that jungle disk for 1,000. Okay.
I had a question on 5, please. So originally, the merit, it was just proposed, right? Was 56,901 plus the police merit, correct? Which would have been 104,000 based on 5%. Okay? So I see you reduced it to 4% and you moved the police back into the merit compensation pool.
Correct.
Grand total of 76,150, 33% increase. And is there any other merit in this budget
No.
that's not on there? It's all in here now?
All the merit is in the merit pool.
So that got pulled
But
out of
that's
the
a big
police line.
increase,
Correct.
merit. So that, now merit is separate, right, from pay raises, correct?
The merit is the pay raises.
There it is.
So when I see, say I see this 26, pay raise of 4.3%, well, that might have been a,
That's a salary line.
oh, that's what I meant, salary line.
That's the town clerk, so that's a stipend.
Oh, okay, so probably a bad example. Police, well, that's not full-time either. So when I see like,
The bookkeeper.
all right, the bookkeeper,
Line 49. That was a 5.4% increase, so it was, the 2023 budget was based on the salary at the end of 2022. She did receive a merit increase this year. It hit the line item, not the merit compensation pool. You'll see that line 5 has no actual year-to-date expenditures. The line item itself gets charged. So it doesn't, that pool is just a placeholder for all of the increases across all departments
Okay.
to offset.
That might happen in the upcoming year.
okay, so I was getting confused. You know, I mean, I thought, okay, so I see increase in salary, but then I see merit pool. I thought that was separate.
So that's just to catch up. So the merit pool of 56,901 budgeted in 2023, there has been no expenditures. I mean, if you would like to see when we close out, the increases move to expense out of that merit compensation pool, it would probably be.
Right, no, that would be
It would
really
be a lot of
confusing.
work, but
No,
we could do
That'd be
it.
really confusing. You
Okay.
wanna have it
So
where.
when I see all these pay raises increase, it's basically based on this number.
Correct.
The
Right.
total, okay,
Yes.
all right, that's better. So I'm thinking, I was thinking that was like a bonus on
these are-
top of the pay
These are merit
raise.
increases moving forward in 2024 as we do annual performance reviews. So originally, they were calculated at the 5%, we reduced it down at 4%. It's not necessarily to say that everybody's gonna receive 4%, some could receive higher, some could receive lower, some could receive nothing. It all depends on how the performance review goes.
Right, so, and then the budget usually goes to zero at the end of the year?
What, the merit compensation
Yes.
pool?
And then it starts all over
It would
again?
be that, if we would have to do line item adjustments, so you'd have to like take that bookkeeper salary line, we'd
Yeah.
have to move the increase into that merit compensation pool. It would have to be a line item transfer to get it to
Oh, okay.
eventually zero out.
Okay, all right, thank you, explains a little bit better, yeah.
I'll have to check with Betsy, I don't know, there might be a spreadsheet where she tracks what the cost of the increase, because they're not all increases that take place for the full calendar year either. It could be just a mid-year change.
All right,
So, I don't know if she tracks that separately, but I can find out.
yeah, it's just confusing, I thought someone says, oh, they get this plus, I'm like, what? But you explained it, that it's not the case.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
On line 23, the newsletter,
Yes,
what's the offsetting revenue for that?
$2,400.
It's $2,400?
Correct.
That's some, I don't,
That is somewhere built into
I was just trying to track it on here.
the revenues. And I don't know that we've actually. Okay, so BML newsletter advertising, as of 11/15, it was $13.85, but that was,
Which page?
on the revenues page, it's the third page, about a third of the way down.
Okay.
It's BML newsletter advertising. So that was
Oh,
up
okay.
through the
Yeah.
first two publications, we got a third quarter advertising to add into that. So I think Charlotte Fife was the one that reported, 2 budget committee meetings ago, that it was about $2,400 collected in revenue.
I think she also said that they were looking at moving to fewer items and doing digital distribution.
Right.
So I think in that sense, maybe we don't need to have the budget go up. Because I'm assuming the majority of the cost is printing and mailing, so if it goes digital, that could save a lot. And just having maybe one print issue a year for the people that don't have electronic
What's this line item? again?
access.
23.
23.
Newsletter. Thank you. Good on that.
Good on the first page?
Yeah.
Second page?
So there's a change in 39. Just to decrease the,
The 20,800?
mm-hmm.
Yep, so that was, I think the worksheet that was originally given to you was calculated on more hours. Those got fine-tuned by Deanne, and it just didn't carry
Okay.
forward to your last spreadsheet.
Okay, so it's just the reduced number of hours, not a change in
Correct.
salary.
I had a question, maybe you don't know, about the absentee ballots. They're saying that the increase in absentee ballot requests will affect the number of hours worked. I know that, absentee ballots went up during COVID because they changed the law and said that now you can get an absentee ballot even if you're in town just because you're scared of COVID or whatever, right? Did that ever get changed, or is that like we're still operating under emergency rules?
I can't comment on that, it's not in my field.
Alright, because I guess the question would just be like, are we ever going back to normal, or are we just doing all this absentee ballot stuff and we should expect to have to pay all this extra in the future?
People can request an absentee ballot if they expect to be out of town on the day of the election. So anybody can expect anything.
Isn't
So
that
people-
lying, though?
Pardon?
Isn't that lying?
Well, you possibly might expect to be out of town, and maybe you would be and maybe you wouldn't be. If you're working, you would be out of town.
Family vacation? Might be out of town.
Right, actually, and technically,
Yes.
working counts, even if you're working from your house, as,
There's always a loop.
right.
Right.
I don't know that there's any way that you can go and figure out whether anybody lied as to whether they expected they would be out of town or not.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just
No, I know,
suggesting
but
that
it-
we don't
that's-
encourage people to continue voting in an inefficient and expensive manner when they could come and vote in person normally in a manner that
I
doesn't
don't know
cost
that
us
they're
extra
being
money.
encouraged, it's just that they got used to it and they're doing it. I would,
Probably something has
that's
to
what it
change
appears
in
to
the
be
state
that's
world.
happening.
Anything else on page 2? John, do you want suggestions now, if we have them, for the board, or Ellen, do you want suggestions now if we have them for the board, or you want us to wait on that, or?
I mean, we can make suggestions and get it. Well, we got John here, so we can ask questions.
I'm
And,
only one person. We
Yeah.
are a board of 5, so
but you know what the
I
rest
can
of the
only-
board's thinking. You know what.
I
they're
will
looking
not,
for. All right.
not speak for the whole board.
Well, we get a
That's good answer.
different selectman every week, so.
Well, again, because we all want to be informed on what's going on, so when we do have our discussions together,
All
we're
right.
informed.
So if we have things that we point out that we might.
Yes, you'll make a note of it over there, and then when it comes to the meeting on Monday, we'll be,
And that might be easier now than waiting to the end of the whole process and making.
I'm here to discuss some of the questions that you might have of why we made our decisions, not towards what we're going to do with your decisions.
Well, and also we can get their feedback on how they might deal with any changes that we make.
Personal change, but how I feel, but yeah, towards what the rest
Well,
of
you can bring it back to the board and discuss it too, so.
hopefully they're watching.
That way we don't make any changes without understanding consequences.
Anything on page 3? Page 4? John, I was looking at line 85, the town attorney. Does it seem like the legal expenses will be wrapped up at the end of this year? Or do you think we should plan on having more in the proposed budget for next year? You think 30,000 sounds like a reasonable amount?
In the best case scenario, you'd hope that 30,000 is the best reasonable amount. Towards what might happen in the upcoming year to affect the 30,000 is something that's,
I guess my question was like, based on what's happening now, the status of the.
Based
legal-
on current litigation.
Yeah. Does
Does that seem like
I
enough?
think we should, yeah, because I think that should be taken care of sometime in what's going on. I believe, without talking, I haven't talked to the attorney on the full details, but I'm pretty sure, hoping that will be safe with
That's a
that.
good number, okay. That was one question.
Why
I
is
had
it
about-
$30,000 $1?
Because there's an enforcement
total.
legal line beneath there.
There's a placeholder.
Placeholder with the $1 before.
Line
That's just a
86.
total, that's a department
All the
total.
legal just tends to get dumped into that line, so I don't know why there's a separate.
But you know, some of those attorney fees are also be used for planning board, zoning board.
All sorts of things. It's just question about, because this year was so high, I think.
Yep.
Can we just eliminate that line, Ellen?
LE enforcement?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do we know if there's historical?
Yeah, we'd have to find out. I mean, normally I think that the rule was that if it was 0 for 3 years, then it gets eliminated.
Well, let's help it get there.
We can
I
look
don't
at-
see why we can't consolidate it.
Especially if 84,000's going to one and zero's going to the other.
It's our gift to future budget committee meetings to make it a slightly shorter document.
Have 300
Maybe we'll say paper by then.
382 lines.
Oh, you can get a lot off of the emergency management one. That's got a bunch of lines and nothing in it.
Hold on. So the, some of these are different numbers because of our calculations. So FICA, all these are slightly adjusted.
So health insurance, life insurance, STD, LTD, FICA, Medicare, all of those were slightly adjusted just based on, obviously the change in the merit compensation from 5 to 4%, those adjusted down. And then just making sure that the insurances were up to current staffing levels and what the applicable plans are that each employee needs.
I got a question about the retirement stuff. Someone was telling me that the town was trying to convert people from some tier to another tier.
No, so right now, the town is involved in New Hampshire retirement for its Group 2 employees, which covers your police department and your fire department. The rest of the full-time employees are on the town contributes up to a 6% matching contribution into a 457B, which is a government-sponsored simple 401K. So we have had discussion during the hiring process. I mean, we've had a lot of very good qualified applicants that have come forward that have chosen not to take positions with the town because they're already in the New Hampshire retirement system for Group 1, which is all other full-time employees. So we've had a lot of discussion about how do we get there? Is it now time to offer that to employees, which would require a successful vote on the ballot this year. There is obviously a higher contribution than the 6% match that the town provides now. You're looking at I think it was like 11% and change.
So Group 1 is all, wait, so sorry, Group 2 is PD and fire.
Correct.
And
And
they're-
Group 1 would be all other
And they have like these
municipal
state-run
employees.
pension plan things that have like guaranteed payouts and stuff, and we are told every year how much we contribute to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Group 1, that's all other town employees,
That if it was successful to pass.
if it was successful.
So,
Are there currently town employees that are on that?
No.
Okay.
No,
So
you
there's
you
no,
have to,
so what is the retirement plans for the people that would,
It's the
that aren't PD and fire right now?
it's the 457B plan with a 6% match.
6%.
So they contribute 6% and we match it?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, an employee can contribute nothing or up to 6% is what the employer will match. I mean, an employee could contribute 20%.
Okay.
It's
So-
completely elective on their part.
So that makes the total compensation, you're adding 6% of the salary for the retirement costs for the town. So what would be the impact if we move to this Group 1 thing for all the other employees?
I would have to calculate the full-time employees that are not on Group 2 and then multiply it by the difference between the 6% and what the New Hampshire retirement employer contribution is.
Is it significant?
About 5% more.
Double it, right?
5% more.
Double it.
This discussion's been going on for years and we haven't done it. So is it significant? I'm sure it's gonna be a
Yeah.
pretty penny.
Yeah,
because
it would
be-
basically,
if
line
we're given-
97
Would double.
would double.
So I mean, you're
Close, yeah.
talking your impacted employees, I mean, it's not, it's the office administration, it's myself, the bookkeeper,
Easily.
the administrative assistant, the 5 full-timers in the highway department, the full-time administrative assistant in the police department.
Would rec cover too?
It's in rec, in full-time rec.
So that 30,000 line-ish, probably be 60-ish.
Yeah.
Easily,
so
because
that-
that's,
so-
someone could only contribute
Oh, true,
3%
'cause
that's
people
matched
aren't
right now.
contributing
So
the
now
whole thing.
everyone, it would be
So an accurate
required
number really
to
would be,
give
you'd have to put all the
11%.
salaries together. I gotcha.
All right, so that match is not an automatic 6%, it is a match. So if they only contribute 3, it only matches 3. Okay, yeah, so it would be more than double.
Yeah.
Then
So
the difference is that that's a guaranteed payout versus how much money got put in and how it performed in its investment.
Yes, it's a true pension plan.
Yes.
So
You're
it-
talking about
Group
New
two is a
Hampshire
true
retirement,
pension.
yes.
Yeah, so it's so if it's a guarantee, are we guaranteeing the payout or is some other
The state,
entity?
The New Hampshire
Okay,
retirement.
so we don't get
system.
hit with a like,
No.
oh, your investment did poorly, but you still have to pay out this amount?
No, and even with the 457B plan that's in place now, the employee chooses which risk they would like to be in. So, I mean, they can do anything from moderate to high risk. So they choose their stock portfolio.
But then that would put us at risk of, I remember a few years ago, I think it may have been the school, one of the retirement plans or something, it went up a ton in one year.
Yeah,
It was like 20-some% or something in one
3
year.
years ago-ish, maybe.
Yeah, it was a
And that was,
lot.
that was, yeah, I
And that was
believe
one of
because
those-
the state contributes a portion.
Yeah.
So when the state does not contribute, I believe that they had up to the school's requirement of a percentage to pay.
So that conversion to a different retirement system requires a vote at the deliberative
It
session?
does. So it would be on as a warrant article as to whether or not the town would accept it, and it would have a dollar figure equal to the difference between the 6% that's already been raised here in the budget and what the 10%. It would be like the 4 or 5% difference.
Are we,
for the
are we
impact.
expecting that might be a warrant article for this year?
Yes, it is up for discussion.
It's up for the selectmen to
And
discuss.
and it's not just a dollar amount, it's adding unpredictability too, right? Because then instead of just being able to factor in 6% of
It's
people's
a
salaries.
rate that's set by
it's-
the New Hampshire retirement system.
We get a number every year and that's what we pay and we don't control the growth of that number. So it adds a lot of unpredictability.
Yes, I believe, I was reading an article, most states, pensions like that's at least $1 trillion in the hole right now. So it's an issue. Florida took a little bit more initiative, but, you know, not out of the woods definitely, but they took a little bit.
I think
better.
most, yeah, I think that's why
$1 trillion.
most private companies are moving away from those types of retirements.
No one has,
Because they're all
no one has.
unfortunately
except for federal
underfunded.
employees, or state or local, no one, not that I know of. Ours was frozen 25 years ago. You know, what I mean, this is reality. That's all we have.
You get a stock market crash, and I
Then
mean,
you're done.
I guess
Yeah,
the
COVID,
benefit is
9/11,
that
whatever, you're done.
taxpayers,
You're done.
taxpayers
You
in
don't work
Nottingham
anyway.
aren't necessarily on the hook, but we also
But
pay
that's-
taxes to the state in
Yeah,
New
that's a
Hampshire,
discussion for
so.
another day, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, my buddy retired at 50. He's done, federal employee. Good for him. He picked a. My friend's a cop. He's gonna retire too.
Anything else on, oh, sorry, that's yours. No, no.
Anything else on four? That's my line.
That's your line, my bad.
All right, page 5.
Moving right ahead on my own brain. This all looks just about the same.
We're on 5 now.
105 to 116.
That's right, though.
John, do you think the town really needs this master plan revision?
Yes. But again, I mean, at the discussion at the last meeting, I don't think 1,000 is gonna be even close to getting us what we need to get that master plan updated.
Well, John, if you look at, yeah, I don't know, has much really changed in town in 5 to 10 years?
Oh, yeah.
All the developments, yeah.
Developments, yeah.
Development, school, our fire department's changed, our police department's bigger, everything's grown, our rec department's gotten bigger, everything.
How much of the
You know,
master
we
plan
all-
is that stuff, though?
Well, you have the nice thing is the initial cost, when I was on the board at the time of doing the master plan 12 years ago, you know, it was very significant cost, because we had a guy that we hired to come in to actually build the master plan. Now, I mean, the cost, I feel, again, don't hold this total, but to do update our master plan, I think you're probably looking at about $5,000. Update it, let's take all the information that's out there. Now, since we already have a plan, to just throw it all in there, update it, make all the changes, put everything, which is gonna show the projected growth, where the town's going. You know, the master plan also helps with the future. of what's going on. So
Is there a
it's like
reason?
a map, you'd say.
Yeah, is
where-
there a
where
reason we
see.
can't just form a committee, like you guys formed the building committee, and they went around and they looked at all the buildings and they had some discussions, and then they made a report and recommendations? Is there a reason we can't find some people that care about having an updated master plan and form a
Hey,
master
Tom.
plan update?
Raise
I
your
don't
hand.
care about updating the master plan, but it sounds like other people think it's critically important to the town. So if they have all those thoughts and things, I think that, you know, you could find some people to volunteer to revise this or make suggestions on revising it.
Well, I feel that would be the amount of work that goes into it and the amount of information that needs to go in. It'd be easier to have somebody that
Done it.
Knows what
done
they're
it,
doing.
that knows what they're
Just
doing
efficient.
too.
Someone who
Well,
is
of course, it would be
professionally
easier to
skilled
pay
in
someone
doing
to
it.
do it. We could have paid someone to come in and look at all of our buildings and make a report and recommendations, but we didn't do that.
No, we didn't.
And we got a nice report and nice recommendations
Yeah.
out of it. So, I mean, maybe that's something we could pursue.
On line 117, are we at the,
Now, if you're saying it would cost 5,000 to do it properly,
That's just a rough.
but we're
figure.
only asking
If
for
the guy's gonna
1,000.
take, if the guy's.
They
charging
wanna do like a
It was
chapter
gonna be
and a chapter.
broken into sections, so
Okay.
there's multiple chapters and only certain ones pertain, so they
right.
were,
We don't need to change the history part of the.
Yeah, and they were trying to do it sequentially to minimize the hit,
The-
was how the planning board
exactly.
guy explained it.
so on line 117, it looks like that's zoning board
Yes.
secretary?
Yes,
That was
so,
just removed because it's not used?
The secretary for the zoning board is the same secretary as the planning board, and it just all gets expensed to the planning board salary, so this was an area that the selectmen thought that they could reduce, since it's already,
So did the planning board go up, or that,
it did not.
it did not?
Why is it not expended in the,
It's just not split out. She does, I mean, our land board secretary who handles the zoning board and the planning board is also the deputy town clerk and the recording secretary for both of these meetings and, planning and zoning, so it's just a matter of, it just being a nightmare to track. You know, is she gonna track an hour here, 2 hours there?
Yeah.
so all of the.
So all of the minutes transcription is tracked separately, the planning and the zoning is bulked together. There's a lot more load on the planning board side than the zoning board.
So was it originally a stipend for this addition for the zoning board, or it just was in the budget there?
It was
Oh.
just in the budget there.
I think it was just calculated how many hours she might possibly work over the
Okay.
course of the year, because they only meet once a month, but sometimes they don't even meet once a month.
Right,
And then it's only taking the application in and you hand them the paperwork as they fill it out.
okay,
Where planning is a lot more detailed of,
it's a lot more of it.
Planning meets every 2 weeks, sometimes every week.
On page 6, buildings.
The cleaning stuff, we had talked to the school last week, Ellen, and they're paying a cleaning crew or something to come into the SAU office over there. And it sounds like it's not the same people that do it here.
No.
So it might be something where we can combine together and possibly save money. Since someone's coming out to clean this building, it's right across the street.
Okay. I mean, we advertised it. We advertised it both for a employee position and a contract company. So,
Same thing with trash too, by the way, is that they need to pay to have trash thrown out over at the old town hall and hauled out. And, you know, we have to have trash cleaned out right here, so,
but we have a
Hey.
dumpster that we bring it to.
yeah, so maybe they could bring it over across the street or something. I don't know, but it sounds like there are certain times where the town and the school, being separate legal entities as they are, they're all paid out of Nottingham taxpayer money, so anytime you guys can combine contracts and work
We talked about
together.
combining efforts. We actually went through, they had done the fuel oil and propane bidding before we did, and I reached out to their vendors when we went out to bid. Fortunately, they weren't successful.
I was actually thinking about mowing, because I seen the school had mowed a different company than was mowed here, plus the Morrison. So there's like 3 different mowings. I don't know if that's all the same.
Ours is the same at Marston and here.
Right, I don't know, I don't think the school is. I don't know, it's been like 2 years. I know the Granite Group, I've seen the trailers and stuff down there.
And sometimes that's when we put an RFP out, right? Then you look at who's bidding at that moment and you make the determination on that. When, you know, we do have statutes that require us, depending on the amount of service, that we have to put out an RFP. So if the bid is not, you know, the companies who bid on that, could have been the person who's here, I don't know that, but
They might not want.
they
the
might not
extra-
offer a discount to us in that because they are here in
Well,
the
usually
town.
it's
So-
more in the school, because my buddy used to mow there for years,
Mm-hmm.
the townie, and, it's, the insurance is really high, because you have children and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah,
So-
but, so we just look at the bids as they come in, and so it, as much as it's, some things are nice to be, you know, coordinated between the town and the school, we also have our processes that we have to follow, with bids, so.
And our contracts might not be in a line, we might be in a 3-year contract and they could be
True.
expiring next year, so.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what it was for the school mowing? I seen the town, I wasn't sure, I couldn't find it in the school.
It's probably in the grounds.
I'm not sure, yeah, and there's,
Ground maintenance.
yeah, I don't know it off the top of my head.
Yeah, there was that discussion about bringing it in-house, that's all. You know what I mean? The Morrison's like 15, 5. I don't know what the school is, 20, or, I'm not sure. I guess I can look in the book maybe, I think it is, because it lists each company that does business for the town, I think the individual, I think I saw it there before.
Right, yeah, I'm not sure, I think it's combined in the budget with other things and maintenance.
Yeah, just something to think about consolidation, that's all.
I got a
Get a better
question.
deal, you know.
I have a question on the maintenance stuff. The salary maintenance line, 126, is down to $1. The building maintenance for this one in line 133 is 20,000. What happens with that 40,000 from the warrant article?
Now that we have a person in place, the selectmen are going to be presented with the option to encumber that $40,000 to be used into next budget year. So the $10,000 that was going to be moved forward, it doesn't make sense because we're gonna be working off the 40,000. We weren't able to fill that position in 2023, so
So
eliminate.
that 40,000 is essentially, it
Going
would
to-
fall under 126
Correct.
if it were in the budget.
Right,
Okay.
so,
But it's actually not a salaried position, it's going to be a subcontract position. It's a company that we've contracted for the property maintenance.
So is there a different, like, contracts type line or
We
something
can
for
change,
that, or
yeah, we can just change that line from
So it
salary to
doesn't look like it's-
subcontract.
town salary
We're not,
line?
yeah, because we're not paying insurance, we're not paying
Yeah,
any of
yeah,
that.
you don't have the
Employer
extras, the
taxes.
FICAs and the blah, blah, blah.
Correct.
so on your tax cap calculation, you have that 40K listed here. Where is that in the budget?
That 40K is going to, it's actually money that's encumbered from 2023 that will be expended in '24. So we're not raising it in '24.
That's why we don't have
It's not
line.
spent out of
So-
24 either.
Right, it's
But-
money,
You're using that in your tax cap number.
It shouldn't be in that
Yeah.
tax cap number.
Yeah, it would need to
So if
be.
you're using it in your tax cap number, you're counting that as an expenditure, not an encumbered
Right.
expenditure.
and again, you know, that sheet was just for, is this what
Right.
you're looking for, for the calculation, the numbers?
Okay, well, that's why I'm
Should have
asking.
deleted all
if
the
it's-
numbers.
Yeah.
If it's,
I
I
if
should've.
it's,
You got too many questions
if
from
it's
them.
going to be encumbered, it shouldn't be here.
No,
But if it's going to be in the budget, it needs to be in this budget someplace.
So I'm not sure if there's property maintenance that include, you know, outside landscaping, mowing, and inside, you know what I mean? Maybe one company.
it's for the facilities, it's for the interior and exterior of the buildings.
Okay.
The parks is part of the recreation, parks and the grounds.
Megan, does the school have a dedicated maintenance person on staff, or do you guys contract it out?
Custodian?
No, not a custodian, a maintenance, no.
Oh, well, the custodian, I was like.
Mr. Brown does
yes, we
a
do.
lot of
That, he is the, I mean, we have other custodial staff, but we do not have maintenance staff. So he handles some maintenance that he can handle, but we have contracts for, you know, boiler and things like that. He
But-
does what he can.
Sounds
for
like he does maintenance
fixes.
to some
He does,
Yeah,
okay.
I think he does some maintenance. I can't say
Lights
day to
going
day
off,
what he's
stuff
doing,
like
but.
that.
Mr.
but
Brown
when it's a
changes
big
lights
issue, we
and
have to call.
filters and-
We have different contract companies for
Just
different,
small builders.
depending on the system.
He does a good job.
Yeah,
He
he's
actually,
Yeah.
quite knowledgeable.
Is that the guy with, heavy metal shirts all the time, T-shirts?
No. He has a nice singing voice, if you ever heard him. You wouldn't think
Came out of
it.
nowhere.
But yeah, so,
Sang last year at the
Metallica.
I think he does save us money on some
whatever
contracts when he
school,
fixes
like,
stuff,
Teachers
so.
all the sang, and the custodian walks out for like 60 seconds.
This looks the same. Oh,
Where does that come from?
so some of the salary lines that are reduced, is that just, they were, like, I'm just looking, so the PD, this is where we'd see the removal of, I don't know what number
The
this
merit,
is. 'cause
the
we're-
merit increases that were
So-
included in there.
What bill, what page?
So I was starting on,
173?
6 to 7?
yeah, so on line, I was just looking compared to the last
We just do lines,
budget,
sorry.
yeah, so 173, starting the
Thank
PD
you.
salaries. These are all lower numbers, well, no. Line 173 is lower than
Because that's where
proposed.
the merit.
That was where the
merits
merit
were
was,
increased.
right? That's
Yeah.
what was my question. So, and then the 176,
And there was a merit increase included in that as well that was removed.
oh, it was, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so it's.
So that
Yeah,
line
I'm
should
sorry, I
not
think-
say that
yeah,
anymore?
It should say reflects merit increase. I got rid of it on the first one, but not on that one.
Okay.
So 176.
Did we ever find out why the new fire station is burning so much fuel heating?
No, the only thing that I can think of is it was transition between the systems. I think, didn't we say that there was two now and there was one prior?
Yes.
There's one,
Last year we ran on one, I believe, there, because the other one was down, but now both of them are replaced.
To what?
Oh, so now it's just two boilers working like they're supposed to as opposed to one?
So it should be the most efficient, because that's how the building was designed.
Should be,
in January, February were very high consumption because it was as the systems were being swapped.
So why is the, sort of, that it would explain prior high usage, but what about the budgeted
It's-
increase in usage?
It's two boilers versus one.
But if one boiler is heating the building, shouldn't it be doing like less work
We
each
don't have a full
one?
year of comparison yet.
And the numbers were lower before too, I mean, it seems like usage has gone up. Like, I can't imagine we were on one boiler for
Well,
multiple years.
the other question came with the shift coverage. Having more people in the building.
Right, so it's probably kept warmer now.
these are all the same.
So Ellen, for the fire department budget, for the 2023 budget, we're looking at like, so for example, the total 550, was the money that was passed in the warrant article, the 200,000
Yes,
plus, is that included?
yes.
That was been added into the operating budget?
Yes, for 2023, it was added in.
Okay. So that's kind of on a case-by-case basis, because like the highway department, it was, instead of adding in money into the operating budget for, that was passed through warrant article, we were leaving that out and in fact removing additional.
Because it's for personnel, you're adding positions, you're adding the 6 full-time positions, where the highway department, it's project-related.
Got you.
That's the Samburnizing reference that Tom made earlier.
The what?
Samburnizing?
Oh,
They got a fancy term for the precedent.
got you.
I don't wanna, I don't know if everyone's on 263? The hired equipment
So is
for,
everybody done with
Sorry.
lines 177 through 236? That would be PD.
So
fire.
PD, the salary one, obviously that's one of the biggest cost drivers in our increases, because what we're seeing, I forget what the grand total,
What line are you on, Tom?
I think it's 173. You know, so our operating budget total's going up $300,000, but it's really $500,000 because they moved $200,000 in road maintenance money out. So the PD salary increase is, you know, a huge chunk of that. And I don't disagree that the police are underpaid and that they need a raise.
This isn't
That's
reflecting
not a raise,
this is
isn't it a
current.
person?
current staff.
What?
This is based on current pay of the current roster.
They got
So
raises.
there were significant increases to bring the positions in line with, they did a wage study, and a lot of actually, the entire department was given a significant increase to bring them into a comparable labor market. We had officers that we were losing to surrounding towns for not just a dollar or two, but significant money.
So it's all already been done.
Correct. It was all done in 2023, so it has to be reflected in, as a starting point for, so this does, that, what's left here does not include merit increase for 2024. That's just,
That's all on the
current
first
salaries for
page.
current
That's-
employees.
correct,
That's now in 5.
yes.
The merit.
So the jump then on line 173, the jump from 497,000 to 649,000. So it's a jump of 189,500. What's that reflective of there?
That was
New
reflective
salaries?
of the increases that were made in 2023.
Do they have
For
it late in
everybody.
So
the year?
that was the merit plus the bringing the base wage up for each position.
So even though it's showing 497 as actuals,
Actual
that's
year-to-date.
because that's year-to-date and because they may not have all been in
Right.
January, right? So,
Okay,
When
so-
do those increases get made?
August,
So,
September, October?
September, I want to
September.
say.
So like the year-to-date is artificially low because we haven't seen a whole year at
Correct.
that.
We've only seen 3 months at the new number. That makes sense.
So they've already had a big increase in wage.
Correct.
Okay.
and where did that come
And then,
last
again,
year's
and
budget?
then the merit increases are also reflective in the year-to-date actual, because again, we don't take out of that merit compensation pool
And then when Fawn was asking for additional merit increase, that number is now
into the merit compensation
in
pool.
line 5,
Correct.
which will be shared equally among all town
All
employees.
employees.
Right.
Okay.
But-
We're looking at 76,000 for this year.
Can I ask though, so
That's
the,
if we spend expenditure to 76,000.
If we decide.
Right.
yeah.
Right. We might only spend
to.
up to,
but,
exactly.
but that, so, but the, what was given to them for merit compensation significantly was over what was in merit compensation previously, right? So that was just,
No, the merit compensation was as budgeted, but the actual base wage was increased. That was over and above, so think of that as like a cost of living adjustment.
right, so that is.
It's not even really a cost of living adjustment, it's literally a wage adjustment.
Mhm,
right,
so
they had to
not
take
from
it
the
out of
merit,
something. They had to
Right.
take it out
Somewhere
of a
else.
different line.
So what'd they take it out of?
wherever,
Someplace,
Out of the bottom line.
yeah.
that bottom line, yeah, exactly. That's really the only number that matters.
We had a really nice officer that was working for the town, sent to the academy, everything like this. He worked for us for probably about a year or two. The town of Raymond offered him $6 more an hour.
Bye-bye.
I actually just have a spreadsheet
That's a lot of money.
that got,
So if we, and that was just Raymond, and then the rest of the towns more, so we literally were kind of saying, if we wanted to keep the good employees that we have, which I think we have a great group of guys, and, you know, the girl that's working over there too, everybody, that, you know, we had to do something in order to,
Keep our force.
because again, bringing them in, sending them through New Hampshire Police Academy, doing all that, and then watch the next town a year later come take them.
Take advantage of all the money we invested, yeah.
What's it cost us to
And
put someone
and
through
four of the members that are actually part of our police department, actually are residents of Nottingham.
Yeah.
The academy does not cost us anything, it's the wage that we pay the officer to attend.
yeah, we're in line with the rest of the, I just got a spreadsheet from the rest of the towns. Actually,
not high on it.
Deerfield, Auburn, Candia, Nottingham, Espen, Northwood, Nottingham, and Sandown, spreadsheet of everything, and actually, you're like one of the highest paid out of all of them towns. Nottingham is for the selectmen, actually.
What,
Oh, for the selectmen?
Yeah, select boards.
I thought you were talking about the police department. I was like,
confused.
yeah, we're talking
Well,
about
this
the
has
police
everything.
department.
They took a decrease last year.
It says police, police officer, police sergeant, recreation director, town administrator, select boards, town clerk, finance firefighter, everything, waste, everything, boom, 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 you know, comparing town to town, so
Yeah.
you're actually too high paid, to be honest with you. This is what it is.
He's just spitting, he's just
line
spitting
already.
facts.
This is just for sure.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm getting punchy. Jesus, it's only 9.
Page
Uh-oh.
6 or,
Bob,
They're
where'd you
not
get that
numbered.
info?
It's
What's the name
same
you sent to
page.
me? You're 3,600, everyone else like 2,000.
No, we're at 3. We took a $600 pay last year. That's not calculated in there.
they're cut.
So we did cut $600 off every person last year.
You're still too high.
Okay.
I'm just comparing town to town, that's all.
Remember, that pay was put in by boards before us.
Yeah,
So that's been for a
true.
while, so
Right.
we
It's
didn't even
been
ask for that.
Yeah, it's been that way for a
Listen,
while.
we have one selectman doesn't even take a pay.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him.
All right, anything else up to, 176?
Next page.
Anything up to line 205? Clear police, fire to fire, okay, anything up to lines 236?
Whoa, whoa, let's slow it down a
Slow it
second.
down. I'm trying to move and slow at the same time. PD,
Is there anything significant that changed on these pages, Ellen?
I wanna go back
Absolutely
to,
nothing changed.
so,
I
I
don't think, let me.
I wanna go to the pistol permit thing,
what line now?
197.
197.
So, if our revenue, that should just match what our revenue is, or what our projected revenue
The
is.
pistol permits?
Huh?
197, the pistol permits?
Yeah,
No, so the pistol permits, it's just a placeholder, because so Fawn actually texted me as we're in the meeting. Her donations go into the pistol permit line, and then they expend out of that. There's no line for,
what about the PD
Or Fawn is
miscellaneous?
watching this? Oh, poor lady.
Is that,
Oh, we're not live,
the PD
Oh, she
miscellaneous,
must have
which line
texted her
item is
and
that?
in the, so we
Right,
have
right,
PD
right,
miscellaneous in the,
The
revenue.
community relations?
And revenues.
Revenues,
There's a line miscellaneous and revenues.
Who knows at this point?
so we have pistol permits, revenue, and miscellaneous revenue. If there's a donation, that should really go in the miscellaneous, not pistol.
But we don't
permit.
budget for a donation because we don't know that we're receiving it.
Right, exactly, so that's why I'm questioning is this
Whether it should
pistol
be
permit,
in-
this quote-unquote pistol permit revenue,
So John, the way I think it works is that they don't know how much money they're gonna get in pistol permit revenue or donations, unexpected donations. And this line is in the budget. This is money that they can use to pay for random things, because that's, I think, how the way it's, you pay $15 for a pistol permit, and then the police department gets to
It
use
is
that money at their
You're
discretion.
correct earlier, it was
Okay.
They get $10,
they get
10?
and they can
Okay.
spend it however they choose.
Right, so I think this is just
It's
a
a
line for
placeholder.
money that they can spend however they,
So
because
maybe it
when they
should be
spend
called
money, they gotta put it
pistol
in some
permit?
line.
Maybe it
Right,
should just be
well,
called
that's-
general revenue for PD?
Well,
what
that,
you're
you know, what, so just, you know, that money right there, I'm not saying where it was spent, because I do not know where it was spent. But when we had National Night Out, you know, that wasn't free. And that was part of the police department, you know, fire together, but that was, there had to be some sort of, she might have used the money for that, some of that.
Well, to John's
But
point
I don't
though,
know.
John, would it just be better labeled as general revenue for PD?
I think it would be better
as opposed to
labeled-
pistol permit?
I think it would be better if you changed the budget line to just say offset revenue, or miscellaneous offset
PD
revenue.
offset revenue.
And the same thing with the revenue line, you just go unexpected or pistol permits and other donations.
And whatever, they should just be the same number, whatever it is, if we estimate the revenue is $10,000, then this should be $10,000, because it should be completely offset.
Well, no, you don't have to,
Well,
you don't have to put anything in here.
We
You can
don't-
sit at,
We
you can sit at a
don't,
dollar.
we're not showing it as, yeah, we are, aren't we?
If we only get $8,000, they should only get $8,000 to spend there.
Well, you don't know what they're gonna get. I think
Right, exactly.
the purpose of this line 197 is just to account actual expenditures, I think.
Right, so the point is,
The pistol permits is not yes, it is, it's included as the income for department, okay.
right,
so-
it's included as income. So if we get if we estimate we're gonna get $10,000 income there,
I wouldn't,
right, I'm just using this number.
yeah.
And then we can estimate we're gonna spend $10,000 there. But if we only get $8,000 in that revenue, we should only spend $8,000 there. Because it should be, that's why you use your revenues to offset your expenses. Because it should be a wash, no matter what you budget for in your revenues, your expenses, should be the same budget for your revenues.
But I feel like this is a tough one, because you can't anticipate how much you're gonna get, and
It doesn't
and you
matter.
only spend what
If
you
you-
got, and you don't have to spend it all either, right? I mean, it's kinda like a
You
fund.
could budget zero and say your revenue is
But,
zero.
in to kind of mirror off what Tom's saying, I mean, if a donation is received, just because she doesn't spend it in the year, it doesn't go away. It's money that, so you're not gonna continue to raise it year after year. You're gonna work until that fund is, those funds are depleted.
I'm not sure how you can encumber, I know there's special rules for donations. So you gotta be really careful with donations because they have to actually be accepted and things like that.
At a certain level,
Right,
yes.
so,
Anything over 10,000 requires a public hearing.
yeah, so you just,
So I mean, if they, let's
Is there
just
a-
say
is
if
there
they
a
get a
quote-unquote
monetary
slush
donation of
fund?
$100, then it just kind of gets set aside as a receipt for a police donation, and they choose how to expend it, whether, they choose to go get coffee or provide flowers to a family, whatever
so,
they choose to do it.
right, so if that revenue is just what they used to call it, petty cash, basically, then why, it's unexpected revenue, why is it even being tracked as an expense then, if they just take it out of that quote-unquote petty cash?
It's,
But there's no
there's
expense
no expe-
associated with
There's
this
no
line.
budget associated to it, there's just an expense line to offset the donation that came in. We're not raising money, we're not.
By putting it in the budget, you're raising the money.
197 is a zero plug figure, there is no money allocated for 2024.
Those
There
are
have been
actuals.
expenses that are offset by the revenue side.
So Ellen, stuff like the police technology fund, that doesn't go in the budget. We don't see that in here, right?
is a separate
Would it make
warrant
sense
article.
to just do this as its own fund? Just a police, I don't know what to call it, but like, when they receive donations, it just goes into the police discretionary fund, and the pistol permit money just goes into the discretionary fund.
I
Stays out of the budget
And it stays out of the budget,
revenues.
stays out of revenue, and then we don't get confused?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I like that.
That seems better.
Yeah,
If it's labeled as pistol permit, it's gonna be talked about 5 times.
yeah,
a year.
every time,
Next year, aren't we?
yeah.
But if it is raised from pistol permits, and that's, that is just like the fees that are charged for anything else in the town, those should come in as revenues.
No,
For the
I
town.
think the law probably says that the pistol permit cost gets given to the police department to use at their
I don't think
discretion.
it does. I
That's
think
what-
it's just plain revenue,
I think that,
because it's written to the town.
this is
Yeah.
the way that the auditors have advised us to show it on the books, so that's the way that it's happening.
Oh, well, that's a good reason.
That's the best answer.
Yep.
I think to John's point, he was maybe asking if it goes in PD miscellaneous, which I'm not sure how, if this line tracks
The
any.
donation.
A
The
donation.
Any donation should be in PD miscellaneous as opposed to pistol permits.
That's what I think that was, I just, but that doesn't track through here anyway, so,
Yeah,
no. It may be.
so it's confusing.
It's
If it
something we
matters.
can clean up
Yeah.
with the year end.
That dead horse will be?
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Anything left on up to 205, fire chief salary? Is it on that page? It was page 8 in my book. Page 9, which starts at 206. Anything on there?
You number your pages. Whole lot of zeros.
Is it just like nothing's changing, or this budget's not finished?
Where are we?
The fire department?
Nothing has changed.
Is it nothing has changed, or that they haven't done anything? It's just odd that nothing's changed.
The only thing that changed was they pulled the $70,000 salary for potential chief position, whether it was part-time, full-time. There was never really any designation made there. The selectmen pulled that out, returned it to the stipend amount, and there was no further changes made. For the most part, with the exception of the salaries, everything else was level funded.
Are we gonna be okay with the vehicle maintenance? I noticed that we budgeted 15,000 and we spent 18.
according to Chief Curry, yes. There was
Okay.
a lot of repairs that were done this year. We also had 2 insurance deductibles that had to come out of that for $1,000 each, so hopefully with no further accidents.
Does this look like then Matt's gonna continue next year at the stipend, or is that still to be determined?
That is the plan.
Is the plan?
It's up to.
It's up to somebody. We
It-
don't know. All right, we're gonna keep that number though.
Well, the
Okay,
stipend
that's
is the
the
plan
number.
to move
Got it.
forward
Okay.
in the budget.
So there's nothing new on page 9, right? Nothing changed on that from the last time we saw it?
206 to 236.
All stayed exactly the same.
So,
That,
page 10, this was the line 263. The hired equipment plowing is significantly lower.
Because
think
we are
that's-
full
yeah.
staff.
So,
We got our own
but
guys.
the last budget we had still had 75,000, because obviously we were not fully staffed at 125,000 actual
We
spent,
had a lot
but,
of subcontractors.
so
generally.
37,250, is that what was previously budgeted in like
No.
22 or 21?
It was at 75, whoa, I don't know. I don't have the. I
When
don't
we
have
were
the
maybe
historical.
fully staffed? I don't know when we were
How long has
last
it
fully
been since
staffed.
Highway's been fully staffed? It's been a while, I think.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah.
I think it's at least a couple.
Okay. So that would just be.
So the
for-
37,250 is the hope that we won't have to rely so much on subcontractors. We can be running our own trucks with our own staff.
When we're fully staffed, we still have to subcontract the lake roads.
Lake roads still
Correct.
need to be.
Because those are too small, but that's the only thing we have to subcontract, okay?
And those are only for plowing. The town still takes care of all the sanding and everything on that.
Oh, we can still fit it down, we just can't with a wing.
We just don't bring it, they're just smaller trucks, private trucks.
Better for it, gotcha.
Plowing, okay.
the emergency management section, we got like 10 lines that have nothing in them. Can we consolidate some of these, such as postage, printing, and publications could all be one thing, you know? Training conferences, and just, there's a whole lot here. Or we could just put it all into miscellaneous.
Sure. At one point, somebody wanted it to be transparent, so this is your result.
Well, it's probably the same as all the other ones, the same lines.
Yeah, it kind of seems like a copy and paste from another section.
But, right, there's a bunch of dollars in there that don't need to be.
Oh, I do have that number for you. 2021 for the highway hired equipment plowing, it used to be 45,000 in 2021.
45?
45,000.
A lot closer to that
Yeah,
37.
okay.
Actual's 46, budget 20, okay, then it jumped up to 70 in 2022.
Yeah, that was, we were down staff, I know,
So
in
that's
22.
closer to
Lack
what
of
they.
staffing in trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we got like we have another plow truck at this point, right? Or I think,
Believe so, versus then, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so less
There's always
reliance
a plow truck
on
that
maintenance,
breaks
or,
anyway.
sorry, less reliance on
spare
contracted
truck.
plowing.
Thank you for looking at.
Well, it should be pretty new, so.
Pretty good up to 265?
Any significant numbers in those highway ones? None of those highway ones changed, right? Those top salaries? Nothing changed from the last proposal, is what I'm trying to say.
No.
But not proposal.
And then-
Last
Draft.
draft. Thank you.
Equipment went down.
Make sure I get my words right.
Parts.
Parts?
There was a $5,000 reduction in 264.
And is that just a
Okay.
ballpark number?
That was just an effort to get closer to the 4% cap on Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah, because actuals were like 25,000.
Right.
Yeah, they definitely seem lower.
We do still have
this
some
year.
cutting edges that are going to be expended out of that, so.
Okay, so it would be closer to the 4.
It's probably gonna get close to 40.
Do we have bills to pay for 266 with the equipment maintenance? Is the actuals gonna get any higher?
I guess it depends on if anything breaks down in the next 2 weeks.
Alan's cap can come out.
Is that a place where we could reduce the budget to 55,000 without impacting things?
What number were you on?
266.
266, yeah.
So that's the maintenance, not, so the parts is 64, and then the maintenance is 66.
So parts is probably in-house purchases for in-house repairs, and then the maintenance is when it goes out? Okay.
Because we got newer equipment now, right?
That's
Should
true.
expect hopefully less on maintenance.
Do we have quote-unquote final 2022 numbers someplace?
Yeah, I got them right here.
Are they actually final, or were they
Well,
last year's
2021
sheet that wasn't final?
I don't, this is
Not
no
at 22
cheat.
yet?
Yeah, that's what I'm
They
wondering.
went back to 2021 with 60,000, budgeted, actual was 46,000. 2022 was 60,000, actual was 46,000. 2023 is proposed as 60.
Want to make a suggestion to the board? You want to cut 5 off that number?
5 or 10?
I mean, it doesn't sound like we're reaching it each year, so,
Might be a good one to look at.
That's one too.
Plus with newer equipment, I get it.
I mean, it's more work than just cutting, it's more work than just throwing the $200,000 in road maintenance out onto a warrant article, but you can get under the tax cap by making small, responsible cuts all throughout the budget.
They
That's what we
spent
did
about
last
5
year.
hours doing that.
Well, buckle up, because that's what we're gonna do.
Were you eating lunch earlier?
I was eating dinner earlier,
Just right here, I meant.
yeah.
Someone,
Did your wife text you
Yeah,
and
my
ask
wife
you if
texted
you were
me.
eating during the meeting? Because that's what my wife texted
yeah,
me.
that's what she did too. I said, I'm
Yeah.
chewing gum.
Yeah.
I wasn't eating, John.
No, my
So-
wife asked me if
John
dinner
said it was
wasn't
you.
enough.
I didn't see the eating.
Apparently it got on Facebook somehow.
Yeah. Please don't eat during the budget.
The town is providing meals, no, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, no. My wife just thought it was funny that dinner wasn't enough and that I still had to eat second dinner when I got here.
But we're not live on anything,
We must be.
You know what?
on like TV though?
If we're live on TV.
If that's the important, somebody has the time to put it on
See, things we
Facebook,
learn.
whatever.
I learned things from Facebook.
I thought we weren't live.
No, we're live.
We're
We're on
live.
channel 22 or whatever
Yeah, if you
number it
have
is.
cable.
We just don't stream
Oh,
like the
that's the
school
difference.
does. That's
someone
different.
You won't be streamed for 2
Cable
days.
TV.
We're streaming live on cable.
That's not what
Streaming.
streaming means anymore, John. If it's not YouTube, my kids don't care.
Nobody wants to come watch the excitement in person.
Why, when they have the convenience to do it from
It's like
their
voting. I do it, you can do it from home.
Right.
I bet they're eating dinner.
They're probably having dinner and watching.
Watching you, yeah. All right, moving.
We're gonna have to enter that in the minutes for next week.
Sand gravel.
I'm bringing food next time.
I want snacks now, damn it.
Stone.
Popcorn.
So that,
Anything else in highway?
sorry, yeah, the note on 270, the increase from product supplier of all products, is, do you know if that's last year's note or
That
this
is
year's?
last year's note.
So I'm wondering that John, or, yeah, that might be another spot, because it looks like we're using less.
Which one?
270.
The sanding red.
270.
270 and
Because we anticipated a big increase
We did.
from increased costs, but it looks like they did a
We
pretty good
did,
job.
we
of-
did just
keeping
2
it
weeks
down.
ago purchase some cold patch that will be coming out of that, and I think there was some crushed stone that we needed to, that was being ordered, so. We will have some more invoicing, but.
Not much.
I don't anticipate.
So another spot to potentially look at.
So when I heard that Manchester lowered their streets and roads budget by like 8 or 9%.
Not technically. There was a lot of different things that we did to the budget. We actually put considerably more money into the roads this year. But we did it mostly through the block grants we got. So we got an extra, I want to say 2 million in roads for the block grants. So the roads went from the budgeted value of 4 million up to like 6. And the year before it had been 4.5, but they were anticipating additional funds from the block grants.
So no, you didn't come up with any creative ideas we could apply to this budget?
Unfortunately, not for paving.
grants.
Grant stuff.
Yeah, it really all came down to finishing some ARPA dollars and all of that. We ended up paving about 10% less of the roads because the cost came in so much higher, but we ended up putting the same dollar amount in roughly.
270, question.
So the highway.
I do actually have some theories on that, and we talked to we made a little highway committee or a roads committee for a bit to try to come up with some ideas, a few different engineers in town.
So line 270 with the sand, gravel, and stone, is it typically purchased in the year prior? Like, are you purchasing now to last through most of the winter, or is it,
It's per project.
Stockpiling.
it's kind of stuck? So I was just
Not a lot you can
curious,
stockpile. If you're
budget year
like-
wise, if some comes from the previous year versus next year's
I
budget.
mean, a
Like-
big portion of this is probably most likely gonna be the gravel and stone than it is sand.
Yeah.
It's put in there as a part of the category, but
Yeah.
the gravel is for every road that you guys come on. that's-
Every time they regrade it, they
Yep,
drop
the
2 loads
grading.
of stone in front or gravel and push that down the
And then
road.
when the beautiful time of April comes, and
Mud
we're all
season.
fighting our mud. no way to
Drop a
fix
bunch
it,
of
it's the
stone.
Rock gravel and.
So it's purchased at different times throughout the year and loads?
It's,
This
it's
is-
project to project,
This
it's not
is
worth
crushed
stockpiling.
stone from like a quarry,
Yeah.
not stuff graded out of the sand at our sand pit.
No.
Sand will
We don't have
work on
that
roads.
material. The sand pit's just,
Sandy fill.
yeah, sandy fill. Like
I thought we were like, someone was separating the sand from the rocks for,
We did, yeah, there's with the old Deerfield Sand and Gravel, that we're using their machine in order to process sand that we had to make it so that it's used for road sand. And by the cost of that machine, it was offsetting by them taking so much, it was like just a trade.
yeah, that makes sense.
Instead of us going out and buying our own machine
Yeah.
to process sand, which is,
But if it's a decent sand pit, you're not getting much stone out of it. It's just, you don't want a few rocks in there that somebody's going to try to shovel and,
Yeah.
you got a 6-inch rock, 99% of it's gonna be sand.
So that brings us to the road maintenance. So
What number, Tom?
282.
There it is.
So contracted road maintenance projects has been reduced $200,000 to $0. There is no money in this budget for road maintenance.
The intention is that there will be a separate warrant article.
Right, so warrant articles, the town goes and we vote yay or nay on them. So what happens if we go to the town meeting and, we put this on the ballot and people vote no? Or do we have no money for road maintenance projects? Is that what happens?
wouldn't that be terrible if the people in Donahue felt like the need for repairing roads was not worth it?
Because it's a critical function of the town, a critical duty of the town. It sounds like something that we should keep in the budget because it's very, very important. And that if we need to reduce things from the budget, if we absolutely have to take something out of the budget and risk it on a warrant article, shouldn't it be something that is less important, less critical to the, what the town is supposed to do than
Help
road
safety in the
maintenance?
town.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, Tom.
So I think
I mean, I
that's,
understand it's easy, it's a huge number, and you can just make this one adjustment, and you get it all done, you get to go home, but it doesn't sound responsible to me to move care of our roads out of the budget and put it on a warrant article.
This is specifically for road reconstruction paving projects
Not
and
maintenance.
for, correct.
I mean, it literally says maintenance in the name of the
We can
line
change
item.
the line item name, but
Yeah,
it's
Sure.
the,
I was gonna talk to you about that afterwards. Also, shim and seal coating isn't anything that we actually do
anymore.
out of that contract item, so it just annoys me, so.
So, yeah.
It should be
basically the
called
same thing.
repaving.
That's what, that's-
So,
Wait,
So if
is
this-
that on the state report
Is it on the state report?
for that, as one of the totals on the state report?
For what, for our,
For an object code in the report, in this, whatever that MS number is.
oh, I don't know that.
So if this isn't maintenance of the roads, where is the maintenance of the roads?
It happens out of your general labor. So,
That would
I
be
mean,
general labor, supplies, sand and gravel. This, I think, is all the contracted stuff, right?
Right, this would be your paving.
This is
uh,
the
your
bigger
base, your-
contracted projects.
So paving the road.
$382,000
This is like-
it cost us to pave Deerfield
Yeah.
Parade Road and to finish off, the road between here
Letter.
and, there you go.
So is this, is only new paving, or is this
Yeah.
repaving?
Well,
It's
Well,
based on a road management
be
plan
either,
that's
but it's-
developed.
Ripping up an
It's the
old pavement
contracted.
road, putting new pavement down.
It's the
So
contracted
I would
work.
think that ripping up a road and repaving it, that counts as maintenance, but I'm just a
it's
layman.
basically the same.
Yeah.
It depends on how you
Depends on
define
what
it.
road you live on.
Technically, the state doesn't, but it's fine.
Yeah, and we're bidding out the project, who's gonna come in, who's gonna pay for it, it's not actually, our guy filling potholes with our truck,
That's gonna come out of equipment and salary and,
So what do our road people
technically,
do?
road reconstruction.
What do our road people do?
Seems like a lot of money to be gambling with.
I think our road people do more like the potholes,
Yeah.
grading,
Grading, potholes.
shoulders,
Yeah.
the smaller stuff, but anything
So they don't
big,
do any major repaving?
No.
I don't think we have a paver or a paving crew now.
Okay.
No, so any paving or reconstruction
That's
of a road
gone.
is 282 on the line.
The other road maintenance, so to speak, would come out of the lines farther up, like
Yeah.
259,
Supplies.
260.
So should line 282 read contracted road paving and reconstruction instead of
Instead of
maintenance
maintenance.
projects? Just curious,
That's
if that
seems
was
like a
a
good
more
better title, a little more descriptive.
clearer description of what happens in that line.
What's it gonna say on the warrant? Is that gonna match?
Well, again, so, remember when we write the warrant article? You know, as the number 600 gets put out there, you know, we could write a warrant article that says, this year we're only going to spend 300,000 and not that much on road maintenance. So maybe one road gets done instead of 3 roads get done.
I thought we're so far behind.
Yeah, we've
We're
used,
behind everywhere, so it's.
we've done
The roads, everyone
600,000.
uses roads every.
We've done
single day.
600,000 for as long as I can remember. So to go less than 600,000 means we're gonna have substantially.
It's never enough, usually you run right through that,
Yeah.
burn right through that.
Sure, the
What's
cost
it,
of,
a million
the
a
cost
mile?
of paving
Pave
is.
a million a mile?
Let all the new developments pave the roads.
Ellen, for
It's less than a million.
year-to-date actuals for line 282 is only 56,000.
Wow,
Why,
I get better.
That doesn't
that's
include
not
grading,
200,
right, if you
why
had
we
to
haven't
grade or
spent the full
whatever.
amount?
Because the
You
warrant
know, like our
article
roads
was
are dirt
expended
roads.
before, so the 400,000 in the warrant article was expended before
That,
the
okay.
operating budget.
Okay.
That is subject to change. We're going to expend out of the operating budget and leave the warrant article monies for potential of encumbering remaining funds into next year. So we could, I think, I think there's a little bit more to come off of this, but I think there's about $60,000 that will be left that we can carry forward into 2024 for additional road reconstruction and paving.
And so you can, when you say it encumber, you do that to be able to take it over to the next year?
That is correct.
And you can only do that with warrant article money, not with operating budget
You
money?
can do it with operating budget money,
Okay.
as long as you have a contract for it.
Okay.
Encumbered means you signed a contract with somebody, right? You promised to pay him
That's
essentially,
planned.
that's what it means.
So potential, technically, we signed a contract with R&D paving to, based on whatever their cost was to pave, but we didn't spend the full amount of the contract, so we can carry that money forward.
You said that was 60?
I think it's around 60,000.
I did hear, I'm sorry, something from the BOS meeting the other night, something about 83,000, says spend it down to reduce the tax cap, might as well just keep it. What was that number
money would-
from?
$83,000 will reduce the tax rate by 10 cents if you pull it out of unreserved fund balance, which they did not
Right.
take any money out of unreserved fund balance to buy down the tax rate.
Okay, I just didn't know where they got that number from.
That was just so
It
we could,
comes-
people at home could understand what 83,000 bought you, 10 cents.
okay.
For every 83,000 it brings off, takes it down.
Just for knowledge.
So can you only make that decision when it's time to set the tax rate? Or is that something that you can make a decision, like, if you wanted to do it to reduce the amount to be raised by taxation to meet the tax cap?
I think the selectmen do that when they choose to use unreserved fund balance to fund a warrant article. They're buying down the amount to be raised by taxation that way.
And then it would be,
True,
would it just end up in anticipated revenue or something?
No.
How would it factor in on our tax cap worksheet?
You actually exclude the unreserved fund balance calculations from, like, the appropriation that would be offset by the unreserved fund balance, those would just be, it would just be a wash. It would be
Okay.
excluded altogether, the revenue and the expenditure. Because it's not, you're not raising the tax, you're not raising the taxes to meet that appropriation.
Yeah. But you could use that to lower the amount that would need to be raised by taxation, thus your number that you'd have to meet the tax cap could be higher.
No.
No?
No, your tax cap, the proposed budget that the budget committee presents, the
Yeah.
bottom line cannot, the amount to be raised by taxes cannot exceed the 4%. Only deliberative session can change that percentage.
Right.
Only the legislative body can change that percentage.
So there's no way to factor in potentially buying down the tax rate or using some of the general fund money? Because that would lower the amount to be raised by taxation, right?
You
If we,
can't use the general fund money, because the general fund money is the taxes that have been collected to meet the appropriations of.
sorry, I mean the unreserved
The unreserved
fund
fund
balance.
What is the question again?
So
Question is, how would that work? So
I got lost.
the
halfway
tax,
through
the
too.
tax
You're not
cap
wrong.
says that we can't put out a budget that increases the amount to be raised by taxation by more than 4%.
So what
right?
you could potentially.
So if you said, well, we want to use, this is our budget and we want to use $100,000 out of the unreserved fund balance, right? So that's $100,000 that we don't have to raise through taxation. So that's $100,000 you wouldn't have to cut from this budget to meet that 4%
So
number.
you're saying maybe it could be 4% plus 100,000?
Yeah.
What you can do is you can show that on the revenue side, so when you do your MS 737, where it shows the budget committee recommendations, you have your appropriations and your revenues, there is like a line item 9999 that is, funds, I don't think I have the MS 737.
Okay, so that's what I was asking. If you use the unreserved fund balance, does that end up on the revenue sheet? Okay.
It doesn't show up on the revenue sheet, it will actually show up on your budget worksheet, I don't have a copy.
But it
of
would
with
count
me.
as revenues.
Revenue,
So which
yes.
would offset the amount anyway, because you take the raised by taxation offset by revenues, so I think it would be
Yeah.
a wash. I believe.
Yeah, you're just proposing your revenues to be higher. Basically.
Yeah, which means you can have a higher budget number under the tax cap, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they did last year, remember, they found the extra 80,000,
Yeah.
at the last minute.
All right, well, we've established that's possible. Next.
Very confused by that.
So in layman's terms, would like to know if we could take 200,000 out of the fund balance in order to put it on our books, in order way to put back the 200,000 for the highway fund.
I didn't suggest that specifically.
Oh, well,
or
I'm
that
just
specific
saying,
number,
I'm
but
not
yeah,
putting
that's
words in
generally
your
the
mouth, but I'm
idea.
trying, that's what I'm just trying to get you
Yeah.
in general, so
I'm
I'm on
saying-
the same page
I'm
you
saying
are.
that's an option.
That's all I'm just trying to get. I'm not
Yep.
pointing you out to say that, just,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that what you're saying, I'm listening to, that we're on the same page of where.
I'm trying to
that
figure
is,
out if
so.
that were to be done, how that works into all these forms. It has to,
Because then you're actually
because the limit
collecting
is
less funds from the town,
Yeah.
so. does
less
it-
funds from the property tax.
Less funds collected through taxation, so your number that you can't go above is actually lower? Wouldn't
Yes.
it be lower?
No, that's from the previous year,
Yeah.
right? We collected
So
some
you're
amount
talking
the
about in
previous
the
year, so we can't
next
collect
year.
more than 4% more than that this year.
Right.
And this is.
So
never
we
been
could
done in
lower the
town's
amount we have
history,
to,
so
we
it's-
could lower the amount we have to collect by using unreserved fund balance instead of collecting it all from the taxpayer.
If you took it from
Might be a good
unreserved,
question to ask the HMA.
Yeah.
Right,
It
because
is, yeah.
it
because
sounds
I mean-
like you could show it as revenue, so you could,
I mean, when
it wouldn't
I
be as
look at
tough to
the-
meet on a,
When I look at the proposed budget, the MS 737, it's all your appropriations, all your warrant articles, special and individual, and then it's offsetting revenues, including if you use unreserved fund balance to fund those warrant articles. So yes,
there you go.
Yep.
And the
You
problem
can
is,
put right
we
there
don't
on the
know
end.
what that is, and you want to
Until you
maintain
fine-tune
that
that.
percentage.
That's why I've been trying to figure out how much of that is just straight up
Yeah,
cash.
and it's- yeah.
Well, I guess we'll never know.
287? I don't know. That's the page I'm open to. I don't know if that's right.
Well, I thought you
No.
got the cash.
Are we up to 287?
0.5.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we would. I think, yes.
Starting on line 287.
Everything got expensive. really your favorite, John. Love it. I think you said this is mostly result in increased tipping fees, right? That number at the recycling center, those increases were tipping fees
Yes,
primarily?
we just signed a 5-year contract with Waste Management, so it's,
That's right.
it's about the, we see the highest percentage of increase in the first year of the contract, unfortunately.
Yep.
I had a quick question. Who mows the landfill? I see landfill mowing 1,000.
Telco, Brendan Talon,
So it's not the same people to mow,
no.
so it's a separate, so school has separate, town has separate, and the recycling center has separate.
It's only a twice-a-year mowing is required by the
why is
landfill
So,
closure.
right, I'm just saying, just consolidate that.
Well, I mean, you're talking like a
That's
zero-turn
different
mower
equipment.
out here versus a tractor with a mower deck to do the
Oh,
landfill.
okay. Oh,
Landfill's
yeah, I
different
never
equipment
looked backward.
because of the grade.
All right,
Depends on how great it is. I was zero turn too. They're meant to climb some steep hills too. I mean, they're designed for that.
So
But
it's-
yeah.
it's required for twice a year,
Correct.
so I assume we did it twice last year for $450.
I will have to look at the invoicing and find out. I think we've only done it once.
285?
Well, hopefully the deer went through a little bit.
I know it got done later in the season because of the rain that we were experiencing in the beginning of summer, early spring.
Right, I know that there was a lot of rain, and I figured that we probably did it less than normal, but if we're required to do it twice,
Yeah, I'll
I would have
check.
expected we've done it twice.
We want
whether
that
there was
money
rain
from
or
the
not.
landfill revenue.
Has the town looked at getting the inmate program to come out and do some of the mowing and work?
Sickles.
All I gotta do is buy them lunch.
And we probably have to provide the equipment that we don't have either.
Yeah, but they could just use a push
You want
mower.
to buy the
You could take
equipment?
them all
Should I put that
day.
on as a warrant article as well?
Huh?
Actually,
$200 push mower?
actually, the mower would
For one
pay
of
for
them?
itself in the first year.
I'll tell you what,
I'm gonna go yard sale
It would-
for
it
it.
I'll
would-
tell you
it would
what,
buy a
you-
couple of them.
you
So
find
we're
the
paying.
inmates to mow the thing, I'll buy them a push mower.
Excellent.
One with an engine, Tom, or a regular old?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they'll get,
They're probably
their
not allowed to
exercise.
have blades.
Yeah, so the
True.
giant scythe might be out of
Unsafe.
the question you're trying to tell me?
Okay.
but yeah, there's a free source of labor
Labor.
out there, and they want people to take them up,
They'd be
up
happy
on
to
this
get out,
offer. And all I gotta do is
get
buy
some
them
fresh
lunch,
air.
so. It's a great way to save the town money.
And Tom, you were gonna make them lunch in the kitchen, right?
I'll buy them McDonald's.
These are all the same. Pages 12 and 13.
Anything significant between 287 and 316? I don't
No
think any of those
changes
would
that I
change.
saw.
So why is the uniform stuff, why don't we lower that if we're only spending 600 a year?
Because we are back on a uniform service. They were not taking advantage of, actually, I think there is still some boot allowances that need to come out of that, but we are back on a contracted uniform service, so,
Yeah, they were on
Looking sharp, big fella.
before, right?
yeah.
Do the guys prefer to be able to wear their own clothes of their own choice, or do they really want uniforms?
The choice was made especially for the highway department because they're taking their their uniforms covered with grease into their home laundering services and,
The wives are pissed, is what you're trying to tell me?
yes.
But isn't that the way it's
Posted a
always
copy
been
of
done?
But it
Laundry
also, it
service
also
on-
helps differentiate, especially at the recycling center, who are staff versus patrons. So if somebody has a question about recycling or what have you, they know that they can go to a uniformed person and know that they're a staff member. Hello, Steve.
Did that answer your question? Of course they should be in uniforms.
Look how sharp Steve looks in his uniform.
Right.
Three-piece suit and all.
It's like-
That's a black tie affair right there, bud.
Is this like
Green
a
out of the
weight
week.
basin
Looking
thing?
good.
When
What's your-
I'm not
what's your
here.
badge?
Oh, just different jewels they give me.
Grand
So-
Poobah.
Is there a question really on the uniforms of whether?
I think it's a good idea. I think we should
I
move
think it's a
on.
good idea too.
I mean, is it saving us money? Like,
I'm
Well,
not
you know
worried
who to
about
go to if you have a
$600 at the
question to
moment.
ask, you know what I mean? It's down there. You know what I mean? You know who to
We'll go ask
If
Wayne.
you go there every week, you know who you're dealing with, so I'm pretty
Yeah.
much sure that that's a, but it would be nice to have at least them looking appropriate with a nice shirt, this is Nottingham on it. I think that's a
Yeah,
lot to
it's
have. I
not
mean,
much.
If you're dealing with somebody else's
Could the guy
trash
still wear his cowboy hat?
he's free to buy his own on those. We're not gonna start spending money on it.
Maybe get him a hard hat, cowboy hat?
So we ain't going to hard hat.
Yes, he had it on today. That's
All
not-
right, stay with me, folks
Sorry,
here.
damn
Anything
it,
else?
sorry.
Let's go. 316. Okay, 317 to 340. Anything that we need to look at here?
That's the same as last presented, right? That's bringing the assistant into, sorry, 334, bringing the assistant into budget full.
Correct.
Don't kill the messenger, I'm just thinking out loud on 334. If we were to move that to a warrant article and bring some road reconstruction money back in,
I would not move a position into a warrant article because you're at risk of,
losing it, same danger of road construction.
I think it would be more appropriate to move all the rec stuff into the rec revolving fund and make it all self-sustaining.
Yes, I wouldn't move the warrant article.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my question. So this is already funded out of rec revolving fund. It's
it was prior.
was,
A
sorry.
portion of it was.
Part of
Half
it
was.
previously was
This, what we're seeing is the second half coming out is the current
Right.
proposal.
Right, half of it was in rec revolving, or it was current year.
So if,
But this makes it much more visible
Right, no,
and
that's.
kind of hiding it in rec revolving.
But if you put it in rec revolving, then we don't have to
Right.
see it because we know it's self-sustaining.
Right,
that they're-
exactly.
They're supporting themselves.
Just because you don't see it doesn't make it right. Does it?
Well,
I mean, it gives them
doesn't-
incentive to offer programs that people want.
it
Right.
doesn't increase taxation.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a real important part.
which allows us to pay for like fire and police.
And
Yeah.
roads.
Roads.
And
Road maintenance.
As long as it pays for itself. Did you say, are you 100% sure
So,
that you throw all this
Any,
in there, that it would pay for itself?
There's some things that
No.
shouldn't be pulled out of rec revolving because they're not,
Your entire
programs.
summer camp staff is all pulled out of rec revolving because the fees collected for the program are the reason why you have the staff holding the program.
right.
As far as the rest of the things that the recreation does for the community, between the aftercare program and again, that's
That should have
fee-based.
fees.
Yep, that's fee-based, but, as far as the rest of the things that the recreation.
so the
And they do free
fee-based items,
things, like
maybe
the,
like the free
senior lunch.
things or
Right,
right,
whatever.
senior lunch, you know, after the parade, you know, some of those, the
Concerts.
Halloween concerts, all
summer
of those
concert
things
series, that stuff.
are other things that the rec department puts on for the town that are not fee-based.
And are those,
So-
Need staff to be able to come up with the ideas and implement them.
Right, and they can come up with, like as Mike has suggested a number of times, having like a road race, a highly profitable event. That can then, the profits from that event can then be used to subsidize other events.
Though we
Make them
proved
free or
that the
reduced.
road race is not highly profitable.
well, they can be.
I heard they're incredibly
In
profitable.
certain towns, I don't think you'll see it in Nottingham.
Why? We have beautiful scenic roads, designating scenic roads to run on with low traffic.
I love the little pun designated scenic roads.
Anyway,
We
so
have little signs and everything.
It is busy with bikes. It
Any
is-
particular questions about the
trail.
budget
I have a
items?
question on rec, just an idea of trying, how we can keep more money for other things. Not saying rec isn't important and valuable, my kids had a great time with their programs, but if we were to take some of their expenditures and move that to a warrant article,
I
for
just-
like senior,
You know, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, you're looking at you're looking at a $5 million budget, you're beating up a department that provides a lot of good service to this community for a $166,000 proposed budget.
We're not,
Well,
we're
I'm
not
not-
beating them
I
up.
wouldn't say
I'm not
anybody's
saying
beating
them
anything
up,
up.
we're- I'm just thinking out loud, it's a great department. I'm
It
not,
is.
I'm not dumping on rec, but
The reason
Are
it
you
comes up,
saying, that does it make more sense to put I mean, the only thing that she had really done is moved some items from rec revolving into the operating budget to get a better idea of what the cost of the department is.
but we could get those numbers out of the rec revolving fund. We know what the cost of the department is.
So
We
I
got the
guess-
spreadsheet from her. We have all the numbers.
Right, so I guess the other part is she is trying to push forward with the establishment of a rec commission that would be able to help.
and an added position on the town books.
That be in
No,
the
no, it would
should that be
be-
in the operating
it would be-
budget?
Shouldn't be.
yeah, it
That's
would be
not a paid
commission.
position.
It would be a committee of 3 to 5 members that help determine the expenditure of the rec revolving fees, the future of their purpose.
And look, you say we're beating up on them and stuff, and that they're a small portion of the
Did
budget.
I say beating up?
But, yes, you did. But you have to realize,
Those road maintenance.
if we took the different things that the town does and we ranked them by priority, the town's most important things are protecting life, liberty, property, it's our safety,
And the
it's our
safety of our
roads.
children.
I think
Providing recreational opportunities is at the bottom of that list, and that's why it's something that we should look at, creative ways of doing the funding versus things like road maintenance, where you're just taking all of that money out. That is risking an essential function of the town instead of addressing non-essential functions of the town, like recreation. You know, the Constitution doesn't mention recreation.
That's what I think. I think that's what it
I'm
is.
not sure it mentions roads either specifically.
Want to get rid of the roads?
No, I'm
We
just
could have that
saying,
discussion.
but, you know, there's a lot of people in town whose roads are fine, there's people in town who don't like their road, you know, roads is such a big issue, and I understand.
Right, but we don't have any other solution to deal with our public roads, but there are other ways to have recreation than publicly provided.
But you're asking also if the recreations charge more money in order to offset, so you're
Yeah.
gonna charge those individuals that are using the rec for their daycare, their after-school programs, you're asking all those families that are using the programs because they're affordable to now pay more money.
Correct.
Correct, yeah, like
To-
I did.
But-
So here, Tom, a popular, which I
Absolutely.
bring up is, why don't we charge anybody that wants to use the dump the $100 fee a year, and maybe we could raise $100,000 that way?
I
So
knew
Michael,
you were
Michael,
gonna have
please,
that idea.
can I
Hang on,
address?
hang on, hold on. We're gonna get some rules, hang on.
I just want to,
Nope.
can I answer the question?
No, you
Nope,
can't.
You gotta wait.
We're done.
I'm gonna make some rules. All right.
Just-
This is, no, hang on. This is a good discussion. I think this is probably the time for it, because if we don't do it now, it's just gonna come back up later and later and later. So I think we should have this discussion. We just gotta go one at a time and not attack and not talk over other people, because I can't pay attention when that happens. I have 3 kids and I still can't do it, so. So you guys, I think this is good, because we're gonna have to visit this. I'm learning. We're gonna need to find some money still, or we're gonna need to move some things around, because if, and we're gonna get right back to this, but if I still look at the end, we're still at 6.2%. Is that,
That's just over last year's, it's not the cap.
that's not,
number.
so this is under the cap as we're looking at it?
No.
Okay.
No,
It's right
that
at-
cap
We have
number's
to
wrong,
calculate
right?
that.
Are we close?
We're close.
Okay, so this is a good working document. We're close.
Unless we move $200,000 back for highway.
Right.
Well, that, as presented, this document.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I think this is good. I think it's worth having, but if we could just do one at a time and don't shout at each other
And nothing personal.
and nothing personal.
Sure.
So let's stick to what line item are we
We're
on?
not personal. We've had conversations. That's how they can disagree, but we're not gonna call each other names and
And this
stuff.
is
It's less about
We're
calling
not
each other
career
names.
Politicians that need to yell at each other and start calling
Or
names.
family members.
Right, yeah, exactly.
All right, so take your
We'll still
turn.
shake hands and say hi at the end.
Very good.
That's how it is.
Free
So-
speech and open debate. I'm all for it, but we just gotta do it in order.
Let's be civil.
I think, John, go ahead, John. You get the floor.
No, he asked me a question, I'd like to answer it.
Are you done, John?
Well, I was just spitfiring for the reasons. I personally do not feel that the suggestion of putting the rec department in the amount of use and what they do as to a self-funded department. Because again, for the same fact of if if something goes down or wrong, we could lose it. And the fact of finding somebody as qualified as our director and assistant director that are in there, you know, because finding good quality candidates to fill positions, as we've already found, is extremely difficult. And that's one of the reasons why they want their salary lines in there, is because they want some of that job security. They don't want to be saying, oh, great, what if this doesn't happen, this doesn't happen, then I'm out of a job because there's no money for it. So we're actually helping by keeping it in here as a budget item for the fact of them having the satisfaction, knowing that their job is safe and on there. So, and I've actually started to pay more attention than I've had in the past, these last 2 years, of what the rec does. Because, you know, I never had kids, but that doesn't matter with that. But we had a rainstorm on Halloween. 400-something people showed up for this trunk or treat thing. You know, I wasn't there, but that's amazing.
Yeah, no.
And even for our town parade that we had, you know, which is really cost, but you know, that was all put on basically by the rec department. There's so much that just makes the community more involved And, you know, it makes people say, you know, this is why I like living in Nottingham, is because of all these community activities, all these nice things, and you go, friends seeing friends, this is how other parents get to meet other parents because their kids are part of these programs, because, you just might not see it during school, but they might see them during the after-school program, they might see them when they do the summer programs.
People
And for
that aren't in the
those-
school program do it.
For those reasons, is why I see the rec department as I find, a very important part of the, backbone or whatever of Nottingham. Because again, it's a way that's, people get to know each other, people get to things, and you find that community. That's the way I look at it. And that's why I think the way we sit it here. I feel comfortable with the fact of, the roads, it's a way to get the budget down. It is without, I had some other ideas at our meetings of saying, hey, you don't want to say we want to cut all our donations for this $25,000 right there. You don't want to say to the police officers that every year they have in their budget $56,000 or for a brand new cruiser. Well, let's take that out, because they do need that cruiser every year, because they're on the recycle every 5 years of getting through it. But where are we finding $200,000? So I'm open to listen to anything you have of where in this budget that you're gonna find that much money.
Well, we
Without
found,
affecting, we've already cut a lot, so.
we managed to find, I don't remember
I
how
like
much the
your
total
idea.
was last year, but we made about 100 different adjustments throughout the whole thing, and a lot of them were real small, but it added up to the number that we needed. And based on when all the department heads came here, I asked questions about almost all the things that we reduced, like the roadside mowing or any of these things. And I said, has it been a problem that we reduced this number? And almost every single one of them, no, there has not been a problem. So we made hundreds of cuts, no problems, and it knocked, like, I don't remember what it was, $100,000, something like that. It was a lot. It was a good amount.
150, maybe, something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
So it's,
I was gonna say
it can be
was-
done, it just
I thought
takes a
was
little
closer
more
to
work.
180.
It's a
Yeah,
compromise. You might not get
170, 180.
It can be done. Obviously, it takes more work than just going, road maintenance, that's a big one. Let's get that out of here. We're done. We can go home. But, we're willing to do it. And to answer your original question, John, about charging money for the dump, previous chair of this committee, Michael Keister, made a point, because I had a similar thought, and his point was, if you start charging money for the dump, and you increase fees to throw like mattresses and stuff out, we see more mattresses on the side of the road. In my neighborhood, all of a sudden, a bunch of tires showed up on the side of the road.
I saw some tires
Yeah.
down the
That's
street
been
from
basically the
us.
same for almost years. That's just somebody doesn't want to pay anything.
Right, so imagine, if trash becomes expensive to throw out, now we have, bags of trash on the side of the road, or people start burning their trash and we have air pollution, so it's a can of worms. I agree with you to some degree, but I also don't want to see trash all over our roads, any more than we already have.
Anybody else on rec or dump?
Yes, I was just making a statement, my little cliff note here. So basically, rec revolving fund was 220,000 and 217 expensive. That included the assistant director's salaries. I had half rec and half assistant. I'm sorry, half rec revolving, half assistant. Just like a side note. So they're trying to put $30,000 back in. They're trying to move her back into the position. Is half her salary already paid?
By the rec, so half of
In
it
the
was
budget?
paid out of the budget, the other half is funded from rec revolving, and then all of the benefits are paid out of rec revolving.
And they're trying to move all that into the budget.
Correct.
And then another one was,
And that's still leaving the program coordinator position fully funded by rec revolving. Because,
Which is their third employee?
correct.
Okay.
right. Right, so, it worked last year, because you seen it was removed, and it was back in, removed, and they're trying to put it back in. Another line was, right here, rec park, I'm sorry, beating the horse here, field, beach maintenance and mowing, right? So that's Marston property, that's Fox Field, right, mowing.
Line 335.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, 335, my fault. So basically, I seen, maybe a year ago, it's just new, right? So that 25,000, they have seed and fertilizing, right, 6,000, you don't need seed every year, signs,
Second.
2,000.
Just for clarification, this is the second 335.
The double.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's supposed to be 339.
339.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
No,
yeah, I see
I
that.
was looking at the wrong one and didn't understand it.
Yeah, Ellen, can you fix
like-
that one?
Why are we talking about overtime salary?
Gotcha.
No,
So, I mean, there's a little bit there too. You don't need that seed every year. Signs were 2,000, emergency, in case something comes up, is 2,000. There's a little bit of play in there too, you know.
And I don't remember the exact
Well, that
number.
could be 30 plus another 5, 10. You can look at 35, 40, you can dump it. So there's places to get it. You just look. And like I said, if you try to bring all mowing in-house, buying a zero turn, you're looking probably about 15,000 for a commercial one that will do it. I've been doing this for over 20 years on the side. I'd be more than happy to point one out, a good one, and
Then
all
we
the
just need to
equipment.
find somebody.
But
to-
then who's
So
gonna do
can
it?
no one from the,
Yeah, well, I did hear, well, I don't want to, I'm not going to mention names. I did hear a BOS member mention about the recycling center, what they do, cutting hours or whatever. Well, maybe, you know, just do more with what you have, you know? I mean, I know when COVID hit, I had multiple hats on work. You know what I mean? It's like, this ain't my job, but someone's got to do it, you know? I wear 3 different hats. It is what it is.
We do have a fully staffed highway department now.
Right, I'm usually
gonna say,
highway
the
department,
highway-
so I'm just trying to bring it in, just like Tom was saying, the recycling center, we're paying for dumpster here, dumpster at the school, and we have our own recycling thing, we don't use it. I mean, let's just try to think together, you know what I mean, make some good decisions, that's all. It's supposed to be benefiting everybody, right?
is that something that can be discussed with the new Public Works Director, since it is Public Works and
It's
typically
not,
that?
he's a highway director.
Oh, highway
I mean-
director,
Yeah,
so
we
not.
had to-
public-
Another,
reduce
another
his
idea,
responsibility.
I'm sorry, I had too is, you know, everyone has their own opinion, but they're pretty handy up there at the recycling center. The guy's painting this and that, fixing it, looks really good. I mean, you need them up there for all those hours, instead of cutting their hours, maybe bring them down here to do a little bit of building maintenance or whatever, or the highway department. You know, I mean, what are they doing? I know things are slowing down right now because they're gearing up for, winter, you know what I mean, getting equipment and stuff, but there's only so much you can do. You know, I have a guy that runs it too, another town, and he has new little projects and stuff like that. I'm just thinking. That's all I got, thanks.
Anybody else? Rec, highway, dump, recycling center.
I still call it that, you're good.
All right, moving on.
Anything, we could probably look at the last 2 pages, because they're,
Any changes at the library?
So, I mean,
51.
I don't know if we even can, just because they're protected by the law on a lot of things, but like the salaries one, where they're going up 29%. You know, if we're up against a 4% tax cap, and we already have hundreds of thousands of dollars in salary increases for other departments and stuff, you know,
similar PD though, that's already adjusted, right?
Um,
Or is that to be adjusted?
it's impacting our bottom line increase.
I-
Agreed, but so does the PD number, so I'm just trying to understand, are those raises
I
that have
don't
already
know
been
if there's a
given?
merit
That's a good question.
increase. I don't know if there's a merit increase already calculated into that figure. I'll have to ask Jen for
In
clarification.
the library, I was pretty sure she said it was,
Merit increases that have been granted or for future?
for future.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out, is it different than the PD one, or is it the same?
Good question.
That's a very good question.
Because in my mind, then it would go in the merit pool, but it doesn't because it's library, right? That's the one different
Whole
one?
separate.
Yeah,
Exactly,
okay.
that was the, I thought we
Yeah.
had that conversation.
I think we did, that's why I just wanted to clarify, make sure I'm remembering it right. But yes, if you could just double check that for the last time before we make a statement, one way or the other.
Yeah, and then we should see if we can use that Moose Plate money for this conservation stuff, because that's $2,000.
Yeah, I'll have to check what the parameters are for the grant funds. Like I said, I know that towns have used them to do their book preservation, their historical documents. So I don't know if there's certain requirements that it has to be used for, but I can look into it.
Yeah. We got 500 for the Historical Society, could use it for that, maybe. I would think trail development, you know, water testing. Those sound like things that could be supported by a conservation plate fund.
Who gets the current use change penalty money?
Conservation fund.
Conservation.
Can they not use that for
No, I think that has to be used for purchasing properties for conservation.
Buying
It
new
can't be used for their
conservation
bottom
pieces.
line,
And
371.
they just bought something last year, right, John? Wasn't there a new easement on something? Over by like Gile or something? Not Gile. I don't know.
I think we paid off some, didn't we?
I know there was a bunch of stuff that
We
got
paid off the Mulligan easement.
Yeah, paid off Mulligan.
No, I think they acquired a new one within the last year or so.
And I thought they would have had like, what, 500,000 or something in it,
Yeah, well, it'd be less now.
less
Although-
now. No, I thought someone told me.
38,000 added in for
It used to
2030.
be divided,
2023.
impact, not impact fees, but, in current use. I thought when you brought it out, half was going to go to them, and half was the town.
Originally, all of it went to the town, to the general fund, and then at one, 2004, somewhere around there, I think, it was voted in that half of it would go to the conservation fund, and half would go to the town's general fund. And then a few years later, it was changed so that all of it goes to the conservation fund.
And then
Right.
last year, there was a warrant article that changed it back that failed.
That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
It was before SB2.
Might be worth trying another one. Get it back half and half. Sounds fair.
I don't think that would help us with our tax cap problem, though.
Bring it in.
It's only, yeah, it's gonna
Bring
be
in some
offsetting
money.
It'd
revenue
be
of
offsetting.
$12,000.
But
On
it would
average.
be,
Well, it depends on how many properties are developed in the land use change tax.
Well, I
It
mean, they got
wouldn't affect this
500,000 in the
year's-
account somehow.
it wouldn't
right?
affect this year's numbers for tax cap calculation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how'd they get the 500,000 in the account originally, right? All the developments going in, is that
Yep.
how that comes out? And
Anytime
so,
they
we're talking
wanna-
about more developments, right? So, are you
If the
talking about?
property's in current use.
Okay,
Which
gotcha.
more often than not, those real big parcels are.
And so what's current use, 10 acres or more?
10 acres or more, and you have to put it into that. You have to actively say, I want to put this property into current use.
Sure,
And then you pay like 2% of the normal property taxes.
Some crazy number, yeah.
But when you sell the land, that's when you have to,
Well, when you develop
oh,
it,
when you develop it,
develop it.
So
okay.
you can sell it and not pay
Only
a
what
penalty.
you're taking out.
Okay, current
So if
use.
somebody wants to take 2 acres out of it, you pay the penalty on the 2 acres.
but then the 8 stays or whatever.
Huh. So the 8 stays in current,
I don't know if
even though
that's
you
true,
couldn't put in
because you
current.
can't-
Oh, no,
it's
you have to
10
take the
days.
minimum of 10, right. So if 2 comes out of 20, 18 can still be incurred.
Okay,
Sorry, I said it poorly.
all right.
Yes.
Anything on the last page up to? line
Paying off some
382?
debt.
So we're paying the landfill off this year. It's going to be
Yes.
the last one.
It will be the last one.
Nice.
Landfill,
It will be free of
done.
long-term debt for a year.
Oh, no, what, wait,
Well,
what?
I don't know, we don't know what the
just
future
saying.
holds, we're only planning for it for
Currently.
2024.
But we're not planning new long-term debt, are we? All right.
Not yet.
I guess.
watch Tom have a heart attack on a meeting.
All right, anything else on budget then?
So when will we get a accurate 4% cap number?
I will work on that
All right.
tomorrow.
Because we need that to figure out what we gotta
Work
adjust.
on that.
Although I guess we have another round of back and forth with the BOS,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All right.
And the school.
And revenues change and everything, so. yeah. Steve, you got anything for us?
I don't, I just come in to see, you guys are gonna friggin' gab here tonight. Push this
Better.
along.
A lot better than last week. We're 40 minutes ahead of last week.
I know you are.
Did you get up to 11 last?
Are there any committee reports for tonight?
I don't have anything.
I missed it, I'm sorry, had training, CPR.
I was at CIP for the school board, so I can share. We just really looked at the first draft of the CIP, so we're meeting again in the beginning of January.
January, okay.
January,
Did you guys get my
Second.
email?
yes,
Sometimes it doesn't go through certain
yes,
people.
yeah, January 2nd, to look at it and hopefully have all the updated information at that point.
And the equipment listings and.
Yes, we didn't have typically we see an aging of the vehicles and things like that to look at against capital reserve funds. So, the schools is pretty set. But, yeah, it was Eventful has re-reviewed what was purchased in the town, and things like that. Anything else? I don't think anything.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
New committee, except for Megan, you carried forward, and Jean Reed.
Yeah.
So we're all just kind of getting up to speed on what our expectations are, and there's at least 1 year that we need to start forecasting for, because it looks like everything's been planned for at least 5 years out. So we have a plan that's developed up through 2028, so after the first of the year, we'll be looking forward to 2029.
Great. As far as other business, our next meeting is next Thursday. Next updated school budget draft. So we'll go through that again. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
I will so motion.
Motion by Owen Friend Gray, seconded by Bob Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.